Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of Heresy Hammer. This is the first, I want to say it's the first main show, but I might be making that up, of this month. But we are going to be looking at the Thousand Suns, and I have been joined by two mighty professors of the art of witchcraft and wizardry today. So Andrea and Darren as well. So if we just hop over to the next slide, we'll introduce our two professors of numerology and divination. So a massive thank you to these guys for joining us, because I know absolutely nothing about Thousand Suns, and it's one of those legions where I think there's lots of moving parts, and there's lots of rules to consider, lots of kind of overlapping rules as well, that we kind of needed two experts. So these guys are going to kind of walk me through how the Thousand Suns Legion functions. Now, aren't going to talk about specifically today each of the psychic powers, your divination, telepathy, but those rules will come up. Okay, so if you aren't familiar with those rules, you can always stop the video right now, go read them. But basically, kind of Darren and Andrea will talk us through those things as we go, and I'm sure I'll have lots of questions, because I'm a man who does not use psychic powers all that much, so this will be massively valuable and really, really useful.
By the way, council and IKEA very strictly.
Yeah, you abide in IKEA.
So Andrea, you've been playing Thousand Suns for a really, really long time, right? Since since first edition, is that right, or since second?
No, actually no. I've started in second edition,
okay.
So I'm quite new. I would say like 3 years of Thousand Suns.
Okay.
I haven't played first edition, but I've heard stories about how broken we were in first edition.
Yeah, it was pretty off the chain. And what got you into Thousand Suns as your Legion of choice?
Well, right, yeah. Well, my life choice is probably because I'm a researcher and university professor, so
the kindred spirit of the Thousand Suns.
Exactly, yeah. I love reading books and then going into nerd stuff about ancient civilizations and dead languages. So that's my jam, basically.
Okay. This is the Legion for you, a Legion of thinkers. Oh, yeah. Okay, absolutely awesome.
Oh, I've got a master's degree, which I think is the minimum level.
I don't think you need to even
minimum level.
Exactly, I'm scraping in.
That's lucky, because I've also got a master's degree, so I'm just about.
Just about.
Whereas if you've got anything less than a master's degree, you just need to switch off now and you won't understand anything that we're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Too right. Let's go over to Darren then. If we go over to the next slide. So Darren, your force is absolutely humongous, isn't it? Of Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
Like, how many points do you think roughly you've got at the moment?
I recently did do a tally, and it was just over 15k. So it's been growing.
Yeah, and Darren's got a massive hobby room in the background as well to fill it with basically more than 1,000 models.
Yeah, filled to the brim at the moment. Initially, me and my mate were talking about splitting a Age of Darkness box set when we were getting into Heresy, and we were like, oh yeah, we'll just do that.
Yeah,
and of course. Yeah, you just keep on building from there, and it just doesn't stop. Really enjoyed it in second edition. Loved the game, and just carried on playing it. It's been great fun. Yeah,
building and playing. I mean, you're a prolific painter and a prolific kind of like gamer as well, and you've just come off the back of the SN Grand Tournament over in Gibraltar, right?
Yeah, and that was awesome fun. Like, had really good games, amazing opponents, and just really good vibe there. It was just super fun.
And how did you rate the Thousand Suns? Because I want to say you came third. I want to say
I did. Yeah.
Nice work. How did you rate the Thousand Suns overall in terms of just the general competition?
Really strong. Like I think they can be a little bit variable. So there are certain legions which I think are a little bit more consistent, maybe, because you can always have some bad dice rolls. But overall, really strong. I think my list probably flew under the radar a little bit. People weren't like no one was really picking it up as a list to watch, basically. but there's a few bits going on, so maybe that's why. And they didn't really spam anything particularly. But yeah, I think they just like in my like Thousand Sons are kind of like the M&S kind of version of legions. They're just like your legion but better. So,
Yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's fair. I mean, our good friend Mark kind of often says, look, basically, Thousand Sons is just the best Legion, like out
yeah,
of all of them.
so
They can
good.
basically just do what every Legion does, but they just
Yeah.
do it a little bit
Super
better.
We can do
flexible.
it all. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I've been running recently a very fast tack, kind of like what you'd imagine a White Scar army to be with like bikes and stuff like that, and it just works so well with Thousand Suns as well. It's just
Yeah,
like super flexible Legion, play different play styles,
love
whichever
it.
you play
Yeah.
style you want, really.
Yeah, love it. Okay, cool. Well, make sure you go check these guys out. Go follow them on Instagram because they're worth a follow. And if you've got any questions off the back of this, make sure send them a message and just they'll be able to help you with all things Thousand Suns.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Anytime.
let's take our first delve into the Prosperine School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So we're going to kind of be looking at the Thousand Suns today, as we said. If we just talk about the lore, if we just go over to the next slide, Darren, and just talk about who the Thousand Sons are, because some of you might be kind of unfamiliar with them. So, two fantastic books that I'd highly recommend. So, the first one is A Thousand Sons. I want to say it's by Graham McNeil.
Yep.
I think that's right, which is an absolutely in-depth look at how the Thousand Sons Legion functions, but also about the fall of Prospero. Spoiler alert, about the fall of Prospero as well. But that is also matched with the Burning of Prospero, which is Dan Abnett book, which is actually told from the Space Wolves kind of point of view. But there is some kind of it's interesting because the Thousand Sons are almost painted to be like the bad guys, the arrogant guys, the guys
Yeah.
who kind of delved too greedily and too deep into the forbidden knowledge and Warcraft, and also that sets the scene around Nicaea as well from the perspective of like, those people who are trying to shut down the Thousand Sons as a legion. So I think really valuable to kind of like, read those books almost back to back. And I think they also came out like almost back to back. So as we say, they are one of the smallest legions. And I suspect I suspect it's two reasons why. The first one is that because, you not only do you need to be a strong human child to get through the initial stages of legion indoctrination and all those things, but also on top of that you also need to be of a psyche of considerable skill to be able to be indoctrinated into the Thousand Sons. So you've got two kind of things kind of like holding you back, which part of the reason why they're kind of remained a relatively small legion. But it is a legion beset by something called the flesh change, which before they came across Magnus was a thing that happened quite a lot to the Legion in their kind of infancy, where they were basically incapable of controlling the warp that was channeling through them. And upon finding their father, Magnus, that was kind of quelled. Now, I won't go into how that was quelled and how the flesh change was stopped. That's kind of a big part of the books.
Major
But it
spoilers.
does come back with a vengeance, the flesh change later on in the books. But it's really interesting to kind of see the bargains that Magnus makes along the way. There is, of course, by the point that we are introduced into the Horus Heresy, the Council of Nicaea has already happened. Now, you might be familiar with the Council of Nicaea, which was like a ecclesiastical kind of meeting of church, kind of early church leaders during the kind of, I think it might be like the 4th century, and that idea has been taken from that our actual past, and turned into the Council of Nicaea. And essentially what that did was it was a way for the legions and all parts of the legions, but also all stakeholders within the Imperium, to basically discuss the issue of psychers within the Legiones Astartes. There are some typically it was the Thousand Sons, the White Scars, and the Blood Angels who had started the Librarius project. Those Primarchs had kind of started off. Sanguinius, of course, has psychic powers, the power of prescience. Jaghatai Khan did not, but many of his trusted kind of envoys and his advisors were powerful powerful psychers, and of course we had Magnus the Red as well. But there were an awful lot of librarians across the legions. It wasn't just those three. Even the Night Lords had librarians. There were a few that did not, and even the Space Wars had not librarians informers, but they did dabble certainly in the warp. But essentially, the Council of Nicaea kind of brings those things to a head, and is really fueled by the bitter rivalry between Leman Russ, Mortarion, and Magnus the Red as well. And what essentially happens at this council is that the Emperor shuts down the librarian project completely and kind of says, look, I have given you too much rope here. I've given you too much leeway. This stops now. My sons cannot kind of delve any longer into the warp. And really, I think that's actually, it's described as the censure of Magnus the Red. And it's really to stop Magnus the Red from kind of delving too greedily into the warp. However, it is important that Magnus will play in the Emperor's kind of grand vision of what the Imperium will become, an integral role within that. So it'd be interesting to see, had there been a counterfactual timeline, how that would have kind of like worked out. So a couple of other bits and pieces as well. So we encounter in the first three books, particularly False Gods, we actually encounter Magnus the Red in his kind of like wolf / kind of projected form, where he tries to save Horus Lupercal from the machinations of Erebus while he's in the Davonite Lodge, doing his kind of like, going into the warp and kind of doing his vision quest. And Magnus tries to warn Horus basically not to go down the path he's going to go down. Horus, of course, ignores him, and then Magnus feels like he is essentially forced to tell the Emperor as soon as possible, so projects himself through the webway, this webway that he's discovered within 1,000 Suns. He projects himself through the webway, but the knock-on effect of that is he starts collapsing lots of tunnels. But the most important thing is he actually collapses the defense mechanisms that is protecting Terra from the webway and the incursions of the demonic entities coming in through the webway. And what that unleashes in the Imperial Palace and underneath Terra is basically demon hordes to come through to be allowed into the webway. So from Magnus's, mistake, or rather, Magnus kind of trying to warn his father about the things that that Horus is doing. Essentially, a big wing of the fighting force, i.e. the Custodes, the Sister of Silence, the Mechanicum, are forced to fight underneath Terra in the webway, and as a result, they can't fight in the kind of the greater war of the Horus Heresy as well. So really interesting. But the Thousand Sons, a small contingent of Sons of Horus as well, actually, House Malanax, Sisters of Silence, and the Legio Custodes are sent to Prospero to basically go capture Magnus and to bring him in. By which point, Horus Lupercal has dripped kind of poison into the ear of Leman Russ, and Horus has kind of basically said, look, come on, brother, you need to really take him down. And Leman Russ has a vengeance against Magnus the Red, and they have a really bitter kind of fight. They didn't necessarily want to become traitor. In fact, they were one of the most loyal legions to the Emperor, but I think that due to the actions of the loyalist legions and the Legio Custodes, essentially they were forced to go down the path of that they did as well. And just to mention as well, Magnus kind of comes up much later in the Siege of Terror books, particularly the short stories, because he's kind of like split himself as a result of what happens on Prospero towards the end of the book, and so he does make an appearance an awful lot actually within the last kind of like books as well. And there's some cool characters that we get to see in 40k, of course, Azek Araman as well, and there's a whole book series that follows Azek Araman in the 40k universe as well. But make sure to go check out those books, particularly Prospero Burns and 1,000 Suns as well. Right, enough lore, let's get into the rules. So let's start off with the Cult Arcana. So Darren, why don't you walk us through this one, and then talk us through kind of like what this means in a kind of reality.
Yep. Effectively, anything that's not a vehicle gains the psycho trait and a +1 willpower, which on its own isn't super important, but as we come on to later rules, we can add obviously psychic powers, and that's where the willpower will come into effect.
Okay, cool. Right. Well, we'll get to the Cult Arcanus in a bit because that's the kind of really important bit.
Yep.
Having +1 willpower, I suppose that the automatic thing for me is that it's going to make getting powers off much easier. Yeah, particularly characters that have like a willpower of 9 or 10. That's being bumped up to 11 is going to be pretty impressive, and that actually comes into play with the Legion Gambit a little bit later as well. So let's get into these Cult Arcanas. I think that's what we've got up next. Okay, Andrea, why don't you talk us through some of the key things with this. So read us through these, and then we'll get into the Cult Arcanas in a second.
Yeah, so every unit in the army, except vehicles, like Darren said, automaton, unique models, may be given one of the Prospering Arcana for 10 points a unit. So you need to pay a kind of premium on top of every
for your Legion rule, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
There are 5 Arcanas. Each unit may take only 1 Arcana, of course, but some units have specific Arcana listed and cannot take another. So some of the units which we'll see, like the Kenetai Blade Masters, for example, have fixed powers and cannot take another Arcana. There are 5 core Arcana in the Liber and an additional one in the Forges of Saturn, the Osirian Arcana. One thing that you need to keep in mind is that each unit can take 1 Arcana, of course, but you can stack them. So if you put an independent character in them, you can have 2 Arcana, for example. So 1 for the independent character and 1 for the base unit.
That's really interesting.
You can have multiple. Yeah, you can have multiple and have different kinds of powers that you can choose from.
Okay.
Because of course, independent characters are units in themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So would that if I had like an apothecary with a different Arcana, would that be bestowed upon the rest of the unit as well, or is it just that model?
You need to check the trigger and sorry, not the trigger, the focus and the target on each Arcana, but mostly yes.
Okay, nice.
For most Arcanas, it says that you can, like, the whole unit gets or the target unit gets, so it works.
Nice. You have to look a little into the DL though, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little bit nitpicky here and there, but yeah. So if a unit suffers the perils of the warp from an Arcana power, they do not take the normal roll that we know from the Perils of the Warp list. Instead, they take D3 wounds at AP 2 and damage 1 with no cover or mitigation saves allowed. But importantly, you can take invulnerable saves or armor saves too, Darren?
Vulnerable saves, yep.
Invulnerable, yeah. So it's basically like the perils, the normal perils where you take damage. And while every model in the unit is a Psyker and has an Arcana, if manifesting a power, only a single model may resolve a psychic weapon at a time. Psychic weapons are different from the normal powers, because powers have different categories. You have a blessing, you have a curse, you have a reaction, and then you have psychic weapons. So the hard limit of 1 psychic power per unit per turn doesn't count for psychic weapons. So you can use a blessing, for example, that counts towards the limit of 1 power per turn, but you can use your psychic weapons on top of that as well. Okay. But as it's written here, only 1 model in the unit may resolve a psychic weapon at a time. This, of course, puts a hard limit on like a whole unit of 10 tacticals using a psychic weapon, like casting a fireball, for example, which would be a little bit too much. So only 1 can do it.
Okay, Andrea, that was a great breakdown for us. That was really good, kind of like overview of the Arcanas. Okay, right. Well, let's get into what the actual Arcanas are, and then perhaps we can talk about where we might find it, to kind of where it might be useful, or where these guys have found it to be useful. So, Darren, talk us through Raptora and Pyre, because these are our first 2 Cult Arcanas that I could choose for my unit. And like, just so I'm clear on this, if I'm attack squad, I just pay 10 points and I'm Psyker, I've got +1 willpower in there. I could either choose Raptora or I could choose Pyre, right? I just have access to these.
Just have access to it, yeah.
Awesome.
I think only a Siren's the only one that's restricted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
One important thing is that you pay 10 points just to get access to the powers of the Arcana, but the trade, so +1 willpower, and getting Psyker, you don't have to pay for it.
That's just
so
free.
That's baked in.
Free.
That's baked in. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So with Raptora is one of the standouts in my opinion. It's like a mini telekinesis. it gives you, first off, it gives you an amazing weapon. Like I would pay 10 points for this weapon alone. This is like a kind of like a melter gun almost weapon. It's good
Right.
anti-tank weapon. It's not so good against targets with armor save, but
Yeah.
it's short range, one shot. So range 12, firepower 1, range strength 9, AP 4, 2 damage, armor bane and
Oh my
force
God.
damage. It's like
Yep.
Yeah.
so good. It's like it's actually better than melter gun in some instances because it's strength 9 without having to stand
Yeah.
still.
But
So
am I right in saying here that that whole, even if it's a unit of 20 guys,
yep,
it's just one.
just one.
It's just one shot. It's not
Yeah,
like
just
each guy
one.
gets a shot, right? It's
No,
like,
yeah,
okay.
no.
Oh my
I
God! I
wish.
was like,
That's wrong.
whoa.
Yeah, yeah. I wish.
That would
Yeah,
be lore accurate, actually, but a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit too
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
strong
Hundred
on the
percent. Yeah.
team.
yeah.
Sorry.
I guess that does mean that you're kind of in some ways inclined to maybe go for more smaller units and that for that
Yeah.
reason. But
Yeah.
in this case, it also gives you or you can also have a psychic reaction. And you can get a 4+ shroud if you make a psychic check, which lasts until the end of the I think it's subphase actually, but it basically prevents you from getting. It protects you for the whole of the enemy's shooting, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
even better, if you fail that test, you actually get refunded the reaction. I don't think there's any other example of that in the game, but it's so
Wow.
generous. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So this is fantastic for making any unit more survivable. I think it plays into like if you want to be shooty and be more defensive, or if you want to have an aggressive assault unit. Whatever unit you've got in the game, I don't think can not it's hard to not want a 4+ shroud.
Yeah.
Obviously you got to be careful about augury scanners
Mm.
and searchlights,
Mm.
but mostly augury scanners. I think you generally can tell in a meta what you basically it's like what you do you come up against a lot of scanners. If you do, this is not going to do you any favors.
Mm.
But I
Right.
find that in third edition people don't often take the scanners as much,
Yeah.
so this is pretty good. It's massively
Nice.
Yeah.
survivable, adds to
Imagine
survivability.
breaches with this. 3 up, 5 up, 4
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. And then pyro. What's that then?
Oh dear. Okay, so
Mm,
this is in my opinion the worst. Basically, I've used it a few times and it's pretty bad.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
I
agree. Yeah.
think it's it basically gives you Inferno Shield, which if you take a psychic check, it can give you the Inferno Shield rule, which means that any enemy unit that hits you in the assault phase will suffer D6 from 4 hits, which is just not very impressive. Like,
Mm.
good luck killing something with that.
Mm.
But to be honest, that's one of the ones where the risk I think outweighs the benefit, unfortunately.
Mm.
But on the other hand, you do actually have the one niche I found for it is you do have this quite nice burning grasp. This is actually quite a decent weapon.
Mm.
It is initiative, 1 attack, strength 8, AP 3, damage 2, critical 6+, breaching 5 up, and armor bane. So that is actually quite a good weapon in
Mm.
itself. The
Mhm.
one attack's a bit of a shame. But
Okay.
if you do have a character like a Master Signal that can't get a better close combat weapon, well, why not just do one decent attack? That's
Yeah.
about the only
Yeah.
use I could find for this entire Arcana myself. But
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I don't know
Andrea,
if you've got. So,
does that square with what you think, Andrea, with the pyro?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one.
The one thing that makes Inferno Shield maybe a little bit more interesting is that you get 1d6 per initiative activation. So you can get
okay.
multiple, like if you have a squad with different weapons. So you go against like a bunch of initiative 1, initiative 2s, and then a character with initiative 4, and then a character with initiative 5. You get 4d6.
Mm.
It's still going to be like strength 4 AP dash,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
That's
really
interesting.
Better than nothing, right? Better than
better
Yeah,
than
yeah,
nothing. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
The other weapon is very good, absolutely. But the real star of the show is Raptora.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
The Kang shield is amazing.
Top notch. Okay, cool. Well, let's have a look at the next two Arcanas then. So, Andrea, why don't you walk us through Pavoni and then Corvidae as well?
Indeed. So, Pavoni, which is the correspondent to the Biomancy power, basically, you get Stone Form, which is a reaction. If manifested, the unit gains +2 toughness until the end of the subphase. So, again, like a Raptora, it lasts for the whole shooting phase. And it's basically a better shield wall, I want to say. +2 toughness, not bad. I still think the Kind Shield from Raptora is massively better. It has some niche applications, I think. So, for example, Dreadnoughts versus Last Cannon. So suddenly that Last Cannon is winning you on a 4 instead of a 2, I think, something like that. That's pretty much what I've been thinking of this power. Like you can find other like uses, but I tend to favor the Kind Shield, like the full up shrouded. It's not bad at all, of course, but
I mean, if we're saying that +2 toughness isn't good enough, I think we're in a lucky spot. You know, I do agree. I tend to use Raptora myself. I find Pavoni can be still pretty good on certain units, like Saturn 9 Dreadnought in particular. If you want to get a toughness 10 Dreadnought, and then things can't wound you better than on a 4 up, then, and you probably are 5 or 6 up with its field.
Indeed.
So I think it really depends on your meta though, because I've noticed people starting to tech into using augury scanners a lot more now. So I think
it entirely depends on your local meta, how many augury scanners and searchlights, and how many dreadnoughts you're facing or you're using yourself. So it entirely depends on what you're facing, basically.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. And then it's got then we've got a blood boil. So talk
blood boil, which sounds amazing, and it is quite powerful, actually. Yeah, blood boil is kind of a forced choke and kind of making it explode from a distance. That's so badass. It's quite a potent weapon, I think. It's one shot, range 12, so quite short distance range. Strength 4, AP 2, damage 2, poison 2 up.
Okay.
I use this quite a lot to kind of one shot a Terminator at a turn, which is not bad, like 40 or 50 points per Terminator with just one power that you don't even need to roll for because it's a psychic weapon. Why not? Just chuck it in there, kill a Terminator. Good. Let's move on. It's quite potent.
So can I ask, in this scenario, so this is a psychic shooting weapon, right? Do I forego so let's say, do I forgo all my bolter shooting in order to use this, or does
unless you have what's it called, firing protocols, I think. Or the rule specifically states that you can use all your weapons, like for dreadnoughts, for example. Then you forgo your own normal weapon.
Okay, so interesting. So and I assume if I have 5 tactical marines with Pavoni, right, basically they won't get their 10 bolter shots because I'm just going to use this one shot blood boil power.
Only one gets the blood boil, so the other ones can still use their bolters.
Right. So basically, you're kind of you're almost like channeling it through the sergeant or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it used to be exactly like that in 2.0 because it was tied to sergeants. Now the psychic powers work on a focus activation. So you pick a focus in the unit, which is whatever model you want, basically, that can use that power.
Okay.
And in our case, it can be any model because we're all psychics, basically. So you just pick one tactical, and the other ones can just do whatever they want with their bolters.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then I suppose the only thing people might be listening to this and kind of going, but presumably you'd always do it on your sergeant because they've got the higher willpower or whatever. But actually, but I suppose it's irrelevant because the whole unit can use the sergeant's willpower if that happens to be higher. It's only an issue if the sergeant dies or gets precisioned out, presumably.
Okay. And always keep in mind that psychic weapons don't need to roll for willpower unless they have the force roll.
So
this power here doesn't need to roll for anything. You just use it.
There's no risk. It's just you use it. Okay, all right. I'm learning so much. This is my first year at Hogwarts. This is great. Okay, right. Talk us through the Corvidae then and how that works.
Well, welcome to Defense Against the Dark Arts. Pretty much. I'm Snape, Professor
Nice.
Snape. Well, Corvidae, which is the correct spectre of the divination discipline, and Ahriman is most notoriously the leader of the Corvidae cult.
Yeah.
You have Fated Shots, which is a blessing, and this is probably my second favorite, together with the Kind Shield, is very potent. Using the shooting phase, all ranged weapons in the unit except for blast, this is important, gain rending 5 up.
Okay.
What does this mean? It's got niche applications, but very, very powerful applications. We'll see the ether fire weapons in a little bit, and those are the prime examples of a combo that you can do. Rending means you automatically wound on the target roll, so in this case 5 up, and you count as rolling a 6 for wounding purposes.
Right.
So everything that's baked into the weapon, so for example breaching, activates. So if you have a breaching 6 up weapon, if you roll a 5 for hitting, you automatically wound and you count as having rolled a 6 for wounding, so breaching. It all kind of gets in a chain, basically.
So as you said, we'll talk about the ether fire weapons in a bit. But I mean, from my layman's terms, like this would be particularly good on a heavy support autocannon squad.
Absolutely, yes.
Or siege, the siege terminators that can take all autocannons.
Indeed.
Because they have rending on their autocannons, right? And that'd be making use of that.
Nemesis bolters.
Of course,
Also.
Nemesis bolters.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's got
if you thought Seekers weren't good enough,
very powerful.
put Corvidae on Seekers.
That's nuts.
Yeah, one of the most feared units in the whole third edition are Thousand Sun Seekers.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah.
Because of this power. I mean, Seekers are very powerful in themselves already. Because of the nasty psycho crazy bonkers bolters. And this power makes them even worse. In a good way, of course.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, talk us through passive consequence then.
Passive consequence, which is great too, but since you have the fated shots as well, and you only cast 1 psychic power per turn per unit, you're most likely going to use the first one, so the second one kind of goes in the background a little bit. But
I see.
It's a curse. It's the first curse I think we see so far. Using the effect subphase of the start phase, targets an enemy unit with within line of sight and within 18 inches. Targeted unit suffers a -2 penalty to their movement characteristics, to a minimum of 0, of course. In addition, the first time it moves, it's in a given phase, it must take a dangerous terrain check. I think it's quite nice. It's quite powerful also because it goes down a bracket for setting up. So you set up.
So that was going to be my next one. So it does affect the movement characteristics. So therefore, it's gonna. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't say that you move 2 less, but it says that you gain a -2 to your characteristic. So it does affect the setup move.
Yeah, interesting.
And a few more wounds here and there, maybe for dangerous terrain checks. So all good, all like nice and dandy, but it's outshined, I think, by the first power. So
I think curses are relatively harder to get off. Aren't
exactly,
they?
yeah.
So the enemy can also use a nullify reaction, but I don't know anyone who's ever used that reaction.
No, I don't think I've ever used it in almost a year of this. I think the only thing I would say is it'd be quite funny to put this against the Saturnine Terminator squad, right? Because you're just like, now you're moving 3 inches. Screw you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, sorry,
but before we go on, this, I think this is important because I think, I'm going to check in a minute, but I think this is the only curse in the game that doesn't require the enemy to take a test, but you as an active player to take a test.
Interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm going to check in a minute, but I think it's the only curse in the game that doesn't require the enemy to make a test.
Like that, it may have been BQ though as well. So
interesting.
Could be, but anyway.
Okay, we'll circle back to that one because we've got two more arcana to have a look at. If we could just have a look on our next screen. And Darren, why don't you talk us through the Athenaean and the Osirian Forges of Saturn kind of 2 arcana. So even though this was in Forges of Saturn, everything can have access. Oh no, sorry, I'm going to say everything can have access. Only basically Praetors, Centurions, Command Squads, Terminators, or Walkers can get access to this, the Osarian
If
Arcana,
it's
right?
Saturnine, basically they're either Saturnine armor or they're a
Yeah.
walker. Yeah,
Okay, cool. All right. Well, talk us through Athenaeum and then talk us through
cool.
Osarian.
So Athenaeum, I reckon this is actually like the secret source for Thousand Sons as well, being really powerful because
Right.
Yeah.
statuses are an absolute nightmare. I think any army that can deal with statuses is ahead of the game basically, and
Mm.
this gives you the opportunity to remove a status by in the effect sub phase by making a psychic check. It's
Mm.
amazing. It's like having a psychic Nuncio Vox. It just means that
Yeah.
if you've got assault marines or veteran assault marines, or you've got terminators, you've got all these units that can't normally have a Nuncio
Mm.
Vox, which are really effective, but one status can ruin their day. You don't have to worry about that. Either that unit can have clarity cast on it, or it can just have Athenaeum and cast clarity on itself. So you have like normally have a bit of a sort of like web of Athenaeum in your army that can kind of make sure that you're
Mhm.
not suffering badly from any statuses at any one point. So
That's
that's
that,
amazing.
that's fascinating. I can use it on myself as well. I can use
Yeah,
it on
yeah,
my
it's
right.
rage 18. So
Yeah. Okay.
I think good
Sorry.
dose
Go,
of
go
this
for
in
it.
any army is really important.
Yes. So that's fascinating, right? So there's a couple of things here I would say. So the first thing is that this doesn't exclude me from using a Nuncio Vox as well. So
No,
if I've got two statuses on me, I could use my Nuncio Vox and then I could use this power. So that's really nice, I think.
yeah,
Um, and then exactly as you say, the nightmare of having like some sort of Death Star squad or something like that, and getting status or like suffering a routed, and you're just like, I can't get these back because I don't have a Nuncio until the end of my next turn. This is like some kind of
Yeah.
nightmare. So having just a little, a character in there with the Athenaeum seems really powerful for me. But I love the idea of a web of Athenaeum to
Mhm.
support there. Sorry,
yeah.
interrupted you.
No, no, and that's how I normally build backbone of my army. If in doubt, whack this on a unit. It's really good. Um, the also not only that, but you're actually putting more statuses on the enemy because you get a free weapon that's a
Mhm.
range 24 panic one weapon. I mean, honestly, again,
Wow.
10 points, I would take that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's again really powerful. I mean, obviously, we talk about this like with the plus side. You can always, I think we mentioned hopefully that you can suffer D3 wounds if you if you roll double on any of these checks for the
Yeah.
Hmm.
for the for these powers. So they're not without their risk, but I think in this edition the risks are definitely better. Worth the risk. Basically, the rules are better, worth the risk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. That's really well explained. Now talk us through the Osirian because this is
Yep.
a very interesting one.
Sure. So I've been playing around with this recently a lot. I think it's really really good. You basically you've got two main abilities. The first one is they can reduce the overload rule by one. So this means that things like plasma is a lot more safe. You could even be crazy and actually use disintegrator weapons. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, what
Yeah.
it'd be
Rob,
amazing
we
if I
know
could.
you love disintegrators,
Oh
Rob.
man,
We
this
know
yeah,
I
you love
did I
them.
did consider this as a force. The problem is that it is obviously limited to Saturnine armor and walkers, right?
Mm.
But
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
very specific, but it is good. I think. Obviously, you've got kind of like you're risking a suffering D3 wounds from a perils on your
Yeah.
Arcana versus reducing overload. So, worst case
yeah,
scenario, you could actually suffer wounds from perils and still have
yeah.
overload
And
of
it
the
could be
same
more
value.
wins than potentially the
Yeah, so
overload
you
could have
could,
done as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it could go
yeah,
bad pretty
yeah,
quickly on this one, but ideally you could get the overload down to zero, which would be great.
yeah,
The machine empathy kind of counteracts this as well, with you can regain one wound. Again, you could kind of like be in a state where you suffer D3 wounds and regain one. But Yeah, I think both of these are really good and hardy units, like Saturnine as they're intended, and yeah, really nice on walkers. I mean, Dreadnought regaining a wound on as well as like any Battlesmith that you've got going on
yeah,
just makes your Dreadnoughts potentially really survivable.
yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's a really solid power.
It is interesting, isn't it? Actually, I mean, what all I'd say is like it's actually in isolation. This actually is actually quite good, because say on the Saturnine Dreadnought or whatever, because disintegrator weapons are good. Like, I actually think two shots from a Saturnine Dreadnought that are strength 7, damage 2, AP 2, the fact that it's 24-inch range as well, that they are absolutely bloody brilliant. The problem, I think, with Thousand Suns Thousand Suns players is that the other Arcanas are also, they're really competitive in terms of kind of going, well, Kind
Yeah.
Shield's useful, Athenaeum's actually just really useful. So I don't know if this is one where it would just be like squeezed out, or whether you would kind of say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to do that absolutely mad thing of taking a double disintegrator Saturnine Dreadnought with with heavy particle shredders to kind of limit my overload, just because I want to build it, and actually this just seems a nice fit. So I don't think it's necessarily game changing, but I suppose it does offer you units that you wouldn't necessarily. Only someone who is a psycho would take a double disintegrator Dreadnought. Only a man who plays by his own rules would do such a thing. So yeah. Okay, cool. Right. Well, let's crack on with what we've got next. So we're going to be talking about the gambits and all the kind of essentially the rights of war now. So Andrea, why don't you talk us through the gambit? This was pretty powerful when we were kind of doing it just before we started filming.
Yeah, my local friends, which I play with, always like to meme about this. Oh, this is so broken. Oh my god, it's quite powerful actually. Yeah. So if this prophetic duelist, by the way, cracking name. It's crazy how good this name is. If this gambit is selected, immediately after rolling the focus roll, the player may choose to either keep the focus roll, including modifiers, or use their willpower value instead. Which means most times 10 or 11, just straight. It's quite powerful. You're going first most times than not. And the little clause here says that you may choose to either keep the focus roll, including modifiers, or use the willpower. So if you just roll like really bad, you can then choose to use the willpower. Otherwise, you can just choose to keep your original roll. So you just can kind of get to choose which one is best. And it's great. There's really not much to say. You just go straight 10 or 11.
It's very powerful, and I think that you guys are going to talk us through some characters later on where this is this is really, really powerful.
It's also a really good backup as well, because let's say you get stats on you and you're in a challenge, initiative 1, or you can get.
Exactly.
Really, wow. Okay, so if your Athenaeum didn't cut it, you can always okay,
like
wow.
Kerry noted here, if you're heavy wounded using a low initiative weapon, it guarantees a good result. You're on 1 wound or heavy or using a chain fist, for example. You just don't care. You go up straight to
fear challenge as well. Okay, I'm going to be looking out for that the next time I play Thousand Suns, because that sounds like a scary.
It gives you the chance to see what you roll first, as I was saying. So if you roll high, that's all good and dandy. Otherwise, you just use your willpower. It's very flexible, very powerful.
Very flexible. It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty rare. I guess, like, if you had loads of outside support.
The outside support can be a problem. I've seen any time when it may not help, like in my experiences.
But like, it's pretty rare even to get to double figures on that roll, right? Sometimes
it's pretty hard to get double figures.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's go to what we have next, which are Legion reactions. So Darren, talk us through the Fortress of the Mind.
Cool. So this is a willpower test. It's a reaction that will help you against shooting attacks. So it's a willpower check. If you pass it, your unit will get a 3+ invulnerable save against that attack. If they fail the test, they will get a 5+ invulnerable save. But both your unit and the enemy unit that targeted you will suffer from perils of war, which is actually, I think, spicy. It's actually sometimes I will use this thinking, I'm pretty happy if I fail this, because like maybe my tactical marines, I'll use a couple of those, because basically it's basically the unit will suffer a number of wounds equal to 13 minus their willpower, which for most enemy units will be 7 or 8.
Oh my god!
So if you're looking at a unit, and then it could be worse, like some Mechanicum stuff's even worse. So you look at it and go, actually, I wouldn't mind maybe inflicting a ton of.
Oh my god! And if you think about like like a rapier squad hitting you, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to use this reaction, and I almost want it to go wrong, because like those wounds are going to be those wounds wounds are going to be taking off your rapiers the first thing, and I don't even need to get to my shooting phase to be able to do that.
It's basically the definition or the embodiment of the meme, like call an ambulance, but not for me.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, nice.
Funnily, the Spar Guard basically can do this as well. If you ever play solo,
Right.
this is their basic reaction.
the Spar
But
Guard,
kind of that part of it. But yeah, so it's really good. It adds again another layer of survivability in an army that's already got lots of survivability. It's a good backup as well. If you don't have like Raptora or Pavoni. It is only against that shooting attack, which shouldn't really be a problem, but Pavoni and Raptora do actually last the entire phase. So that's the only time you sometimes got, if you decide in between which one to use, that's a bit of restriction on it. But yeah, it's really solid.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's once per battle as well as the other thing. So
it is, yeah.
Cool.
Yep,
Nice.
super useful.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, let's have a look at our next so our detachment, so the Prosperine Convocation. I'll quickly just run us through this one because it's fairly straightforward. So it is I'm assuming I'm right in saying that it's a auxiliary detachment. Yes, it is an auxiliary detachment. So we've got a prime slot with some troops. We've got I want to say fast attack there. We've got an elite slot and we've got a heavy transport as well. So I think the big thing to say is that it's really nice to have an elite in an auxiliary detachment. That's actually pretty rare, and it's great to have a heavy transport in there as well because that gives you lots of flexibility with the some drop pods or types of drop pods, and they're flyers, but Spartans and Land Raiders as well. And just having a prime on the troops is really useful, be it for using logistical benefit or alternatively bumping up that unit to have combat vets or Master Sergeant or something along those lines. So yeah, really flexible. I think we were saying, Darren, the fast attack was an interesting one, and you've been trying to make speeders kind of work recently. So it's not necessarily an obvious choice, but I don't know. I kind of associate speeders with like Thousand Suns, but maybe it's because you're always trying to use speeders in Thousand Suns to try and make them work. So maybe that's why I associate.
Yeah, forced into it. Yeah,
with that one as well. Cool. Okay, let's have a look at our next slide. Right. Okay.
Right.
So, Andrea, why don't you talk us through the Legion Armory for Achaia 4 swords and then Ace Fix bolt pistols and bolters as well.
Yeah, sure. So this is probably the only thing that we lost flavor in, or like choices in, going from second to third, because we were quite like in a great spot, I would say, in third edition. We didn't really lose much. The only thing we lost was choices in the Achaia pattern force weaponry. We used to have swords, axes, maces, and lances. Staffs. I think something like that. Now we only have 4 swords, so it's a little bit limiting, but that's fine because they're good weapons. So any model with command or champion can swap a power sword for an Achaia pattern force sword for 5 points, so quite cheap, and it's essentially a better power sword. So initiative, like dash, so same initiative, same attacks, +1 strength, AP 3, damage 1, breaching 5 up. I think it's quite nice, especially when you come to the Kenitai Blade Masters, for example, which have 2, so you get +1 attack. And suddenly the weight of attacks in these weapons with breaching 5 up can really stand also against elites, because they're obviously great like tactical choppers with AP3, but the breaching 5 up makes them apt at facing elites as well. Not fantastic, but they can go toe to toe with Terminators. Then we have Asphyx Bolters, which are actually legacies. They used to be mainstay of the Legion Armory, but now they've been moved to legacies. There are our own psycho-reactive bolters that we build on Prospero, quite cool. Any unit with a bolt pistol may swap them all for Asphyx Bolters for 2 points per model. And any model with a bolter may swap all the bolters for an Asphyx Bolter for 3 points per model. Quite expensive. They're essentially bolt pistols and bolters with less range, because the bolt pistol gets 8 for range instead of 12, and the bolter gets 18 instead of 24. Other than that, they get rending 6 up. And
Yes.
what we think is a typo or like not intended, because you see the bolter is a pistol as well. Well, Kerry wrote not a typo. The bolter is also a pistol in the document, but what we mean by that is that it's probably not intended. They did
Yeah,
it copy paste
it's
probably.
interesting that, isn't it? I mean, the problem with giving
Yeah,
it the pistol subtype is that you can volley fire with it.
Yeah.
Presumably means
exactly.
that
Yeah,
if it actually does have the pistol subtype, then then it means it
yeah.
can be volleyed
It's,
with,
it's,
which
it's a
is
bit
quite
weird
fun.
not to give it the assault subtype though. That's the only thing I would
Instead
say.
of, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's a really good
Instead
point.
of
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
feels like
Mhm.
a typo. Okay, cool. Okay, well, I mean, the simple thing with the ace spec shells is basically you are you're gaining rending 6+ for a shorter range. I
Yeah,
mean that is essentially it.
exactly.
Similar to the Iron Warriors like pinning bolters,
The
you get
shrapnel
gaining
bolters,
pinning.
yeah.
Yeah, you're getting pinning for a shorter range.
Less
Cool.
range. Yeah.
Yeah, less range. Let's just have a look at our next one. And yeah, Andrew, why don't you talk us through the ether
Cool.
fire weapons as well on these?
Absolutely, my favorite weapons. Etherfire weapons, prototypes for warp weapons,
Mm,
basically, that we've seen in 40k, the Magi or the Zao Arkad. Forge World learned how to tame the warp into weapons and shoot it relatively safely. So these are the Etherfire weapons, and you get a pistol, blaster, which is the normal gun, and a cannon, a magnet cannon, actually. Etherfire pistols are added to the Legion Officer Wargear and Legion Pistol list for 10 points. Etherfire blasters, the normal guns, are added to the Legion Special Weapons list for 15 points, and Etherfire Magna Cannons are added to the Heavy Weapons list for 20 points. So these are basically plasma weaponry with some differences. So the pistol gets 10 range, one shot, strength 6, AP 4, damage 2, pistol of course, and breaching 6 up.
mhm.
The Etherfire Blaster is the same, but it gets range 18, 2 shots, strength 6, AP 4, 2 damage, breaching 6 up. And the cannon, which is the blast version, gets range 24, 1 shot, of course, strength 6, AP 4, damage 2, blast 5, and breaching 6 up.
Plus five.
I
That's
believe
crazy.
it's missing one of the weapons, though.
Yeah, the
Isn't it right,
EVA
Darren?
cannon. Yeah, just
The
the
cannon,
yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
normal cannon, because
yeah,
the Magna Cannon is the Dreadnought version, if I'm
yeah,
not
Oh, okay.
mistaken.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's missing the cannon. Okay.
yeah.
Well, let's just
but I
quickly.
think,
Okay, if you
yeah,
can talk us through the stats, if you know the stats off the top of your
It,
head,
it,
then
it's basically the
it's the
same as
same, just +3, I think.
got
yeah,
it.
Right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
It's
I think it's in under the Castellaxekia
yeah,
Okay, cool. Which
like sheet, because
we're
it's
gonna get to.
originally was published in the book under the Castellaxekia and then added to the legacies as well.
Okay, that's interesting.
So
I was
it's
gonna say like the
a bit
Etherfire
weird.
Magna Cannon, like if that could just be taken on a dude, I'd be like, holy crap,
yeah.
that's
That'd
insane.
be
Oh
good.
my god.
Yeah,
Holy
But yeah,
crap!
but basically it's the same, but it's just the 3 inch a 3 inch
Yeah,
blast. Okay.
if I can say just one thing about this is what I was saying before about the Corvidae,
Mm,
the really nasty combo that you can do with rending
yeah.
5 up. So each
Yeah.
5 up is basically a an auto wound, AP 2 damage 2 because it's
Mm.
breaching 6 up as well.
Yeah, man alive, like
These weapons
A
just
Corvidae heavy support squad just dropping out of
yeah,
a drop pod, just being like,
exactly.
yeah. So good. Yeah,
I
it's gonna
always
take down a
bring
lot
support
of stuff.
squads.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, I always
it's
bring
crazy.
support squads with ether fire blasters.
Yeah,
They're quite cheap, like 230, 240 points
yeah,
for an insane amount of killing power. You
yeah. I
just
love that.
point,
Yeah.
click, and
Yeah.
delete a unit a turn.
It's crazy because like I love the idea of it being in a pod because you can't shoot the pod. Well, sorry, you shoot the pod, but you can't shoot the guys on the inside of the pod, so they're just free
Exactly, yeah.
from the intercept. So,
Mhm.
tasty. That is tasty. Okay, cool. Right, let's
Very
have a look
tasty.
at what is next. So, good combo with Corvidae. So the
Mhm.
unique prime advantage. Walk us through this one then, Darren.
sure. So I must admit, I've only used this a couple of times, but basically, this prime advantage means that when you make a rush move, you can make a whip test. So it's
Mm,
not quite a psychic test, but pretty similar. If you pass it, you get move through cover special rule and the anti-grav special rule for that movement phase. If you fail, however, the unit cannot move, which is probably the biggest downside. So you
right.
don't perils or anything, but you just don't move. Um, so. It
Yeah.
is also can only be given to troops slots, so it's prime advantage. I personally tried to make it work a few times, but it's quite a big risk. If you fail that test, your
Yeah.
unit just ends up standing there, you know.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
What would be the benefit of gaining the anti-grav
You can
rule?
move over enemy
You can
units.
jump over.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So
Okay. Woo!
maybe in your meta, you're getting boxed in by tarantulas, and you want to jump over them to get to objectives. If
Could
that
be, yeah.
very
Maybe,
unique situation
maybe,
comes up
yeah,
a lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
but honestly, I didn't really find this particularly useful.
No.
Does it replace the rush move though, or are you still technically rushing in that scenario?
You are still rushing, yeah. You
So you
have to
can't
rush to
even, so
get
you
it.
can't
Yeah,
shoot
you
or
can
you
still
can't
rush, yeah.
charge.
Yeah,
You can't,
you
yeah,
to get the benefits, you do have to make the rush as well. So like it's not like you can jump over a unit and charge or something. You're just kind
yeah.
of jumping over. I can only
Yeah.
imagine to get to objectives.
That's literally what I was about to say. Like, I
Yeah.
can see that being like a last ditch. Like, I need a couple of extra inches here to get me to that objective, and
Mm.
there's some guys in the way, so I'm just gonna hop,
Yeah.
skip, and jump over them, and then get me there. Okay, but quite situational, I
Super
think, with that.
situational though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think when the other prime advantage of like combat veterans is always good for Thousand Suns. It's
yeah,
really hard not to take
Yeah.
that
yeah.
versus
Does
something
it?
like
Does the
this.
combat vets increase the willpower,
It
or does
does.
it? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Oh my
It
god,
does.
Yeah.
yeah.
It
It's
does.
just
So
yeah,
in the Proserpine convocation as well, where you can have like the prime troops, that's not normally a good
it's
go-to
a
one.
yeah, a
Yeah.
bit of a no-brainer that one. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
no-brainer for
yeah,
us. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing, though, isn't it? You're just like, well, when you given a choice, but there actually isn't a choice. It's like,
Yeah.
well, just give them the
Yeah.
combat vets. You know,
I mean,
just
you have
yeah.
willpower 9 tacticals.
That's
Like,
it.
Yeah.
it's
That is
great.
literally the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to
Yeah.
explain that to people listening. So, um, just a reminder. So, if you give a unit combat veterans, you're increasing their characteristic stats, their leadership, cool, intelligence, and willpower. Those are being all increased by one, and then the Legion rule, the Legion Tactica, increases the willpower by one as well. So that's how you're getting to 9. So you're very quickly getting over that average 7 to get to a point where
Yeah.
actually you're much more likely to get kind of these powers off, which is why the guys are saying, look, actually combat vets are just so much more useful in this
Yeah.
scenario than
Or a willpower 11 librarian.
exactly literally
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wink,
literally
wink.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, let's have a look at what is next because we're going to go into into units here. So I'm going to do this one because I quite like the segment,
Of
and then you
course.
guys can walk me through it. So these guys have changed slightly because before I seem to remember that they had like 2 different psychic powers in the previous edition, or a psychic power kind of like built in, or they could buy psychic powers. From memory. So the segment
Oh, yeah,
10
you
yeah,
could
do you
buy
remember that?
a discipline with the
That's right.
sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So they were it's uber powerful because of that. So
Oh, yeah.
250 points for Sekhmet and an Inceptor, which is basically the fancy word of saying a sergeant, with 45 points for an additional Sekhmet, up to 5 extra, so you can get up to 10, right? So that's pretty standard. So just a couple of things to point out here. Weapon skill 5, really, really nice. 2 wounds, toughness 5, as you'd expect. They have a 2 up, 4 up. And then the Sekhmet Inceptor has leadership 9 and cool 9, with the other guys being leadership 8 and cool 8. Now, I did have to check this one with the guys. So they have willpower 8, just kind of like as is, straightforward. But because they are, of course, Thousand Suns, they actually, in reality, have willpower 9. Okay, so that's not actually
Yeah.
built in. They haven't actually built that into there. So, you know, if there's some way to make these combat vets, which actually probably through an Apex detachment is probably relatively straightforward to actually do, they could potentially go up to willpower 10, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
They got all the rules that you would expect from Terminator's Implacable Advance, Stone Purposeful, but they also have Vanguard 3, which is pretty nice. So another traitor Terminator unit that's got Vanguard 3. They're equipped with combi bolters and then a K and pattern force swords. Now, exactly as you said, Andrea, it's a bit of a shame, I think, that they don't have like access to like a force axe or this, but it's just like the force sword and that's it. But we have to, that's of course comes with breaching 5 up, which is pretty nice. Like that's not too shabby.
Mhm.
Any model can take lightning claws, power fists, chain fists, and thunder hammers for various points, all the points that you'd expect them to be. And then any model may sweat with a combi bolter and sword for a pair of lightning claws, as you'd expect. So that's usually 10 points, I think. And then you can get a heavy flamer, Reaper autocannon, or a plasma blaster on these guys. And then the Inceptor can take a grenade harness, as of the legacies as well. So I suppose the big question here is, like, what arcana should I be taking on my Sekhmet? So I'll ask Andrea you first, and then Darren, I'll ask you second. So Andrea, what typically would you do if I'm new to Thousand Suns? What would you kind of just go? I've got a 5-man squad with, like, I don't know, like 2 pairs of lightning claws, 2 thunder hammers in there, and 1 guy with a 4 sword. What should I really be kind of like looking at as my card arcana?
Yeah, so I think it entirely depends on like if you put independent characters with them or not. Like if you're
Right.
running them alone, I
Mm.
think you can't go wrong with Raptora, so the Kind Shield. I
Mm-hmm.
think you just really can't go wrong with that.
Mm.
It makes them really, really, really annoyingly survivable. Two
Yeah.
up,
Okay.
four up, four up.
Yeah.
Like they're moving fortresses basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
It's crazy.
even the Pavoni one for +2 toughness, maybe.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah. Okay, yeah,
I
that's a
still
good
prefer
shout. Yeah, I like that.
Control.
I love the
Yeah.
theme of that. They just like turn themselves into stone as well, and now they're +2 toughness.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
toughness
Yeah.
7 is insane, actually.
So
Like that
yeah,
is actually
I
pretty
know.
nuts.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
been playing Iron Hands recently. You know what the -1 strength is like.
Oh,
Imagine
yeah.
+2
It's
toughness. You know,
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
yeah,
Bolt was
Yeah.
just hitting
Yeah.
you on 6s or whatever. You just
yeah.
like,
We're better
Talking
than
about
you. Hey.
yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
100%. Okay,
But
cool.
yeah,
Right, two
I
options there.
tend to
Oh, sorry, go
do.
on, Joe. Sorry. Yeah.
No, sorry. I just tend to do multiple, like putting my Praetor in
Okay.
that unit, so I can go for Raptora and something else. Maybe
Yeah.
just a quick cheeky Pyre for having
Yeah.
a like that cool weapon, the Burning Grasp one,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some
That's nice.
extra
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
D6 wounds,
Yeah,
and that's
Athenaeus is
it.
going to be good for a unit that can't take an Nuncio box, I guess, as well.
yeah.
So that's always, yeah,
But yeah,
that's a good
I, I
show.
I think that would be my go-to. If they're on their own, I'd probably be like, don't want stats ruin their day. But yeah, like you say, it's not normally they're not on their own. They're normally with a character, so it's normally like, and I have Athenea from the unit, and I have Raptora from the character, or something like that. And
Yeah.
I think the key thing there is so to talk about is like you've got a reactive power and an active power. So in my turn, I'm removing statuses. In your turn, I'm giving myself a 4-up shroud, and those two combinations of
Mhm.
trying to overlap makes your
Yeah.
units way more powerful.
And a great weapon, which is the like the strength 9 damage to force
Yeah.
damage one to
So
bring
yeah.
down vehicles as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. So just to also, as we move into these units as well, it's just to be important here that we say that these guys can't take a psychic discipline like biomancy, right? They've
Not
only got
anymore.
access to
No.
the cult arcana. So everything that you guys have seen so
Yeah.
far in terms of the powers, they have access to those cult arcanas, or kind of minor powers, I guess we might describe them. But the Sekhmet do not have access to kind of like, +2 strength and +2 toughness from like biomancy. That these guys do not have access to it. You're reliant on your characters for that kind of thing. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Right, let's have a look at our next unit then. So the Kanatai Occult Cabal. Andrea, why don't you talk us through these guys? These are Legion elite slots, so they might fit well within that auxiliary detachment that we saw previously
Oh.
because they are an elite, of course.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, they're an elite slot, and these are lore-wise the protectors of the temples on Prospero and Tisca, and of high echelons of the Legion. So they're kind of the bodyguard. To which I say they could have been like retinue instead of elite, but
That's
that's
interesting.
fine.
Yes, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's just a personal thing that I was thinking about the lore of the Thousand Sons, but
Mm.
yeah, 145 points for a unit of 5 basically, so 4 blades and 1 blade master, which is a sergeant. 24 points for an additional blade, up to extra 5, so you can go to 10, and it used to be 15, I think, in first edition.
Yeah, I seem to remember it being an
So
odd number,
yeah.
wasn't it? It was like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they're basically veterans. So movement 7, weapon skill 5, BS 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks, leadership and cool 8, willpower and intelligence 7, but willpower 8 because that's
Mm-hmm.
a thousand stars, of
Mm-hmm.
course,
Mm-hmm.
and a 3-up save. But most importantly, no
No,
invulnerable
no
yet.
infirm. Yeah,
We'll
Mm.
interesting.
see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They're all equipped with paired Akia force swords, so the ones that we saw earlier, but +1 attack because they're paired, so double, and a bolt pistol. The legacies give them option to, well, 1 in 5 to swap a pistol for a hand flamer for 5 points, or an ether fire pistol for 10 points. And then you have the special powers of the warriors of the Kenetai. So they can't choose from an arcana, which doesn't mean they can't get access to it through other means. So you can put an independent character in them and still use the arcana, but of course you're still going to have the hard cap to 1 power per turn. So choose wisely what you're using, either their power or the arcana from the independent character. So they get access to 2 powers, of which one is a reaction in the assault phase, and the other one is a normal blessing. The reaction is blade weaving, so they kind of spin the blades really, really fast. And step 4 of the charge process, make a willpower test, of course. If passed, you gain a 5-up invulnerable save against volley attacks and melee until the end of the assault phase.
That's crazy. So basically, they're Jedi Knights. Is essentially what they are, like twirling their lightsabers.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Nice. Okay.
If you're really into your Obi-Wan Kenobi fantasy of deflecting, blaster shots everywhere, these guys are for you. And then Mindsong of Blades, again, cracking name, just fantastic name. Mindsong of Blades. It's a blessing, and in the assault phase, when you declare weapon step, you can manifest the power, and if you pass, you gain precision 5-up for the rest of the phase.
That's really interesting.
Quite powerful too to snipe characters, I think. I haven't used them too much in 3rd edition, but I know, Darren, have you?
Yeah, a fair bit. They've gone up against things like Templars. They generally do quite well, even with the 3+ save. Lack of a vulnerable is definitely a bit of a risk. I think they definitely benefit from a supporting character, normally like a librarian, to give them biomancy, or telekinesis, telepathy librarian, to kind of give a pinning status on the enemy unit so that they can strike before the enemy. So either of those two, I think, just increases their survivability because their output's quite good. It just, if you go into like a assault veteran squad with lightning claws, it's just going to be mutual destruction on both sides. So but yeah, no, I think he's are pretty decent, and the precision can be nice to like take out off a Nuncio Vox or something like that. You know, sort of models like that is pretty good against. It doesn't impact any of the characters they join, by the way. It's just like only impacts people with the 2 Akia Force Swords, so you can't like there's no cheesing of it there. So
okay, that's really interesting. So just to clarify for my own kind of sanity, so if I have a mixed unit, like say like a Praetor with Athenaean and a I suppose that Athenaean wouldn't be a great example here, but Athenaean, then these guys, can I only do 1 Cult Arcana power per turn? Am I limited to how many Cult Arcana things I can do?
It depends on what the power is. So if it's a blessing or a curse, yes.
Right.
If it's a weapon, you can do, I mean, up as many people that can use them. So if you have an independent character, you can use a psychic weapon for him. Excellent. You have like for the squad, you can use another one, and that's it. Okay, but cool. if it's a proper power, so a curse or a blessing, you can use only 1. So you need to choose.
Yeah. So you have to pick at the right time.
Yeah. So for like, if I had a librarian with biomancy, I would either have to use that, or if I use that, I wouldn't be able to use like the Mindsong and Blades later on.
Exactly.
But that's why I kind of like the telepathy and telekinesis combination, because it gives you a pinning 2 with fear bubble. It puts really good put status on. That's just a psychic weapon, so that's fine. And then you could use the Mindsong and Blades afterwards. So there's a lot of, unfortunately, with Thousand Suns, there's a lot of like quite a lot of detail of like
a lot of detail is what is clearly, especially if you're going to mix and match. I mean, you kind of do need that in many ways, especially if you're new to it. But if you choose to have lots of different arcanas with different units, I think it's quite complicated, and also the skill and the finesse will come from when's the right time to use this thing, and what's the best moment to use this thing.
Indeed.
Okay, cool. All right, let's have a look at our next unit. So Darren, talk us through these, because these got a bit of a glow up, didn't they? But they are in quite a congested support slot, but walk us through these ones.
I really agree. They basically, I honestly think these are the worst unit in 2nd edition. Quite honestly, they were the coolest looking unit though. Like, they look so good, and I've got 4 of them for that reason. But They're based off a Castellax frame, if you like. So 8 points for a single model. And basically compared to like a normal Castellax, you've got an extra attack, and you've got slightly different mental stats for some reason. But also a 5+ invulnerable regardless whether you're in combat or not. So
Yeah.
you're nice, tough robot, but not a dreadnought level kind of thing. It has the Asphex bolt cannon and two Kia force claws, which are quite good weapons actually. So the force claws are your standard initiative and attacks, but +1 strength, so strength 7 with this guy. AP3, damage 2, and breach and 5 up. So pretty reasonable. Though you have only got weapon skill 3, so you're not going to be causing a lot of damage, but you can at least injure some opponents. You've got the default bolt cannon, which has got a very odd rule. It's got random 4 up, so it basically hits and wounds or it doesn't do anything. So
Okay, yeah.
it's very straightforward.
That's very interesting, that, isn't it? Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't do a lot of damage really, but it's nice. It's still nice.
Yeah.
The E-fire cannon is a little bit more deadly. This is the one we were talking about earlier. So it's a small blast with strength 6 and breach and 6 up is probably the key points and 2 damage. I think these guys are not really there for necessarily damage output, but they are relatively tough, and they have some additional rules which gives them utility. So I'll just go through the one that's important is the psychic conduit. So if a friendly Thousand Suns model within 6 suffers perils of warp, it may apply the effects to this model instead. This model also, if it suffers etheric feedback, it suffers 1 wound and ignores all saves. So basically, if you suffer a stun result from periling, you can just put a wound on to the robot, and that's way better than taking a stun stats normally. If you suffer minor arcana wounds from minor arcana damage as well from periling, you can also pass it on to this automata as well. So basically, it just means that you can protect your more expensive units by passing wounds onto this model. And although point per wound, this is actually not the cheapest going, like 20 points per wound. What the thing I find useful is that you can repair this. So, rather than, models dying, this is also like normally a low priority target. It's not really doing a lot of damage. It's just absorbing some of the damage from any of your miscasts. The other thing I would say is that this is actually really good for just running into tactical squads and tying them up on objectives. It does exactly what dreadnoughts do a lot these days. It's like, and it's really annoying. Tactical squads will spend all game engaged with this thing. So for 80 points, it's pretty good, pretty flexible. It's not going to cause a lot of damage though, and you are restricted to only having 1 in a unit, which I think is a real shame. I think there's lots of people that have a lot of these from 2nd edition, where you could have a proper right of war, where you could have 12 of these in an army, and they're struggling. I've got 4, and I struggled to get those onto the table, let alone if I had 12, because it is a support slot. So yeah, I'm hoping for a journal one day to come out, but I don't know if I don't know if my prayers will be answered on that one.
Yeah, I mean that would be amazing. So I just want to ask you guys. So I'd spoken to a Thousand Suns player who attended. I think it was Chris who attended an event not too long ago, and he was sort of saying these are almost essential to have in a Thousand Suns list. Yes, they're pricey, but they're almost essential because you want to be passing off your wounds, those perils off to the robot. And then what he was doing was running a tech marine alongside it to kind of fix it with this magical screwdriver, which was an interesting kind of an interesting combo. Have you used, so Darren, I assume you've used them a fair amount of times, right?
I think if I'm running a heavy weapon squad with auto cannons, this is great. Just stand next to them, gives them a bit of protection, but also that point for wound is, maybe that's a really analytical way of looking at it, but a heavy weapon squad, like I with an autocannon, is a lot of points per wound.
It's a lot of points per wound.
Yeah, so I don't want to suffer D3 wounds if I, when I'm trying to use my powers. So it's really good to pass it on to this guy. He's particularly good if you're using the power before the movement phase, because then you can repair him. Like, for example, if you use Athenea, and your perils about, suffer D3 wounds,
Yep.
that my Forge Lord repairs the Castellac
Yeah.
Ikea
Okay.
straight away. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
particularly safe in that regards.
Yeah.
I think I don't I don't regularly take him one of these units, but I think one in a list is pretty good.
Yeah.
Depends on the
Okay.
makeup of the list. I think if you're playing aggressive list, they can kind of get outpaced by the rest of the army, and they have to get within
Yeah.
6. So that's It's normally if I'm playing a quite defensive build that I would use one of these.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah. Okay. There is a difference here. An aggressive list, they will be left behind, won't they? Actually, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I weigh in on this?
Yeah. Please. Yeah. Please. Yeah.
Because there's a couple of hidden things here and there which I think are quite important. First of all, it's not written here. It's explicitly, I think. I can't see it, but what I was saying earlier when we kind of did the run through pre-show, they're 0-1. So you can
Yeah.
only have units of 1,
Yeah.
which bothers me so much
know.
because
Such
I
a shame.
want to run units of like 3 or 4, like Mechanicum does. Why can't I? But like, okay, GW, all right, you do you. But apart from that, there's a couple of interesting things. Like, I don't think Mechanicum Castellax have Firestorm, by the way.
I think
These guys do.
Some of them do, yeah.
Some of them do, I think.
Some of it. Oh, maybe
Yeah.
the heavy, like the heavy shock assault or whatever.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I
the one
vaguely
with
remember.
The one with the
one of them
Mauler
does.
cannon basically does.
Oh, okay, the other
Yeah.
ones then. Okay. But this is interesting because they've got Firestorm, so you can kind of fake charge in and volley and then retreat, or kind of just not charge in.
Yeah.
That could be a use. And an important thing to note is that if you go for the Ether Fire Cannons, you can't use the Corvidae power to get Rending 5 up because it's restricted, so not applicable to blast weapons.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Unfortunately.
interesting.
Don't know why, but okay. And last thing, what I usually do with these, because I tend to run them quite a lot, because they kind of fit into my aesthetic of my my list, which is the Order of Ruin. And what I tend to do is to run a few Mechanicum Tech Priests with Archimandrate, so they don't suffer the minuses on the advanced characteristics, but you can still buff them with Cybertheurgy.
That's interesting.
Because it's Cybertheurgy, like the basic ones, specifically say you have to target automata units, not Mechanicum units.
Right.
So it works on these.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
You can go for tech priests.
So you could guide it basically, and then that would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Precisely.
If you want, even more rules onto your Falcon Sons, you can,
even more rules.
Yeah.
Even more tests to roll for and rules. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Let's have a look at the next unit. So the Contemptor Osiren Dreadnought. Andreas, why don't you walk us through this one? Because this is pretty good. I faced these a fair few times, and it's the Shrouded that's the killer for me. It's the thing that makes it so survivable. But talk us through it, and then talk us how I can get Shrouded on this bad boy.
Of course. So the Contemptor Osiren Dreadnought, our own specific Dreadnought, one of the only 2, I think, together with the Blood Angels one, the Contemptor Incendius. 200 points, quite expensive, but it's basically a Contemptor Dreadnought. So weapon skill, movement 8, weapon skill 4, BS 4, strength and toughness 7, 6 wounds, initiative 4, 4 attacks, leadership 12, cool 10, so he isn't going anywhere basically. Willpower 8, but 9 because of Thousand Suns, intelligence 5, and a 2 up and a 5 up invulnerable save. It's basically a Contemptor Dreadnought.
Yeah.
It's equipped standard, so box with Gravis Bolt Cannon and the special Gravis Force Blade with a combi bolter inside it. The Gravis Force Blade is actually a very interesting weapon, I think. Same initiative, same attacks, but +2 strength, so strength 9. AP2, 2 damage, force damage, so you can go up to damage 4, quite
really
nasty.
Nice. Really nice.
And Reaping Blow 2, so you can get like essentially +2 attacks if you're going up against hordes of enemies. So quite a potent weapon, I think. But then you can swap the Gravis Bolt Cannon for any other normal Contemptor weapons, or swap the combi bolter inside the fist with the Gravis Force Blade with Contemptor hand weapons. So you can go for a Melter gun, a Graviton gun, for example. The legacies also add the Etherfire Magna Cannon, the weapon that we saw at the start in the armory, as a main weapon option, or an Etherfire Blaster for the hand weapon, and the Dreadnought. The Contemptor Siren may also choose from any of the 6 psychic disciplines. This is very important because he can also access to the Arcana. Since it's it's an automata, and then you can have is it an automata?
No. It has access to the minor arcana. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. I have just a little brain fart here, but most importantly, you can access to the 6 psychic disciplines, of which you can go for telekinesis, for example, which is an inbuilt as a trait, telekine 4-up shrouded. You don't need to roll for anything. You just walk up the board and you have it 4-up shrouded. Yeah. It's great. It's absolutely great. And you, of course, have access to the other powers as well. Not only the trait, which keeps you 4-up shrouded, but I tend to run it, when I use it, I tend to run it like that with telekine, because it's got like 2-up, 5-up, 4-up. It's great. And then you have access to the other powers. So one is the reaction, which gives you shrouded 3-up, absolutely nasty. And the weapon is, I think, like firepower 3, strength low, but pinning, like pinning 2 or something like that, right? Quite nice to have an easy way of inflicting a status, I think, a status. So, special bulky 6, explodes 5-up, implacable advance, because it's a dreadnought. I think it's quite powerful. It's also quite pricey, I think.
Very
kitted out, it's most likely going to be like 260 to 250 maybe, if you keep it low. It's quite a big points investment, I think. So,
interesting. I quite like the Reaping Blow on it, because I think that gets around one of the issues that Contemptors have, which is a very low number of attacks. So the Reaping Blow is pretty nice, and the bulky does count. So going against hordes of tactical marines is going to be pretty useful.
I found this guy actually pretty good with the recent amount of custos coming around with Eternal Warrior 2, particularly. It's like, well, I've got damage 4, hopefully. So,
nice. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
true.
I do like
it's going to have willpower 9, so it's
I did manage to kill mine the other day trying to do this, so this doesn't always work.
Oh no. Oh well.
I will say, I think we kind of touched on it a bit, but just to be clear on the sort of like, you could have 2 psychic weapons on this and fire that as well as its other gun, and as well as its fist. Like it can do a relatively large amount of shooting. I think the only thing for me is like, I'm paying Marigal price for something weapon skill 4. I wish it was 5 basically, but it's still good. It's just for some reason very pricey.
Pricey but survivable, I guess is what it was.
Very survivable.
Cool. Okay, let's have a look at our next unit. So we'll do Darren, talk us through the Inducti, then we'll take a quick break, and then I think we're going to be talking about kind of unique characters for after that as well. So Legion Inducti.
Cool. So these are your very basic Space Marine stat line, but just no sergeant. So we're flat leadership 7 for the entire unit, and intelligence 6, which is a bit of a problem if you play Zone Mortalis, as I found out.
Can't be
it's the only time you look it up, isn't it? It's I think you're like,
Contemptors on a 5. It's not great.
How do I open this door?
That was not in training apparently. So So they only have line 1, but if you don't play the core missions as your only source of missions, I don't think that's a problem.
No.
You can't select your own Arcana. You get a specific one instead. You get the Unattuned Arcana and you get the Etheric Guidance Power. So the Etheric Guidance is actually pretty good. So if they can make the test, all the weapons that don't have blast will gain breaching 6-up rule. Which is really good on the unit with bolters. I think this is probably one of the times when the Ace Fix Bolter really comes into play, though, because
Yeah,
then you get
really
the
good.
breaching and rending hopefully
Yeah.
together, and you're basically like shooting as if you had lightning claws at range. It's pretty
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah, it's
really.
amazing. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a squad
Imagine a
of
block
12.
of 20 of these with Asphyx bolters.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really nice alternative to your sort of like tacticals sitting at the back on the back lines. These can go forward, 10 or 12 of them in a rhino, jump out, a lot of shots, a lot of damage, and hopefully grab an objective a bit more aggressively than a tactical squad could.
Yeah.
Yep, they can have Volkite chargers as well, 1 and 4. I haven't really bothered using that personally, but
Yeah.
it's an option. And you have all the sort of like usual upgrades that you'd expect for a tactical squad. Probably mostly important is the Nuncio box. So yeah, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, really, really nice. I think it's a really good unit. I think that combination with is it the Ace Fix, the bolters,
Yeah,
Yeah.
is a absolute no-brainer, I think, for
Mind
this.
you, they're 3 points each, the Asphyx
Yeah,
they
bolters.
are.
So these can get really, really pricey and
yeah,
expensive. Like
60
yeah.
additional points for like that 20 man
Yeah.
squad or whatever, right?
But
So
it's worthwhile.
yeah,
A block of 20 with Asphyx bolters.
yeah,
They can dish a good amount of damage
yeah,
on just
100%.
normal bolters, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Okay, cool. Right, let's take a quick break here, and then guys can join us back after the break.
It's time to upgrade your battlefield with Sacrus Mundus Terrain. Sacrus Mundus sculpt breathtakingly detailed and varied terrain that will bring your games of Horus Heresy to life. From the ruined cities of Armoria to the jungle vestiges of Lintrath, Sacrus Mundus design immersive battlefields for any type of tabletop wargaming experience you desire. Find their extensive terrain collections online right now.
Heresy Hammer is proudly sponsored by BANDUA Wargames. BANDUA Wargames is a wargaming retailer based in Spain. Their stock is vast and covers every game imaginable, but most importantly, it also covers the Horus Heresy. They also create high-quality MDF terrain for wargaming. This includes sets for frontline wargaming, as well as battles set within the confines of a battle barge. We have been using their Zone Mortalis set at Heresy Hammer HQ, and we are absolutely loving it. It's modular, high quality, robust, and easy to store. They also offer a range of accessories for Heresy Gaming as well. Heresy Hammer patrons receive a 10% discount on all their own brand terrain accessories and mats. Make sure you check out BANDUA Wargames today via their website, banduawargames.com. Right, welcome back, everybody. So we're going to rattle through the next 6 units before we get to our lists that have been kind of constructed and crafted by these guys. But first off, we're going to start with the Numerologist Cabal, because we've actually got 2 legacy units that we need to get through. So, Andrea, why don't you talk us through this? Because I know you're a massive fan of the Numerologist Cabal.
Oh, yeah.
Men who study numbers. Talk us through it.
Basically, yeah. First of all, it's my favorite unit in the whole Heresy. And if you know a little bit of like Dune, for example, this is basically the Mentat of the
Right,
Warhammer
okay.
universe.
Nice.
So they're guys with immense mathematical and statistical capabilities, which also have divinatory psychic powers. So
Right.
they're really, really good at like sieges or supply lines. Basically, little Gillimans in our own legion,
Yeah, I love it.
and they're basically like Forge Lords, Siege Breakers, and Master of Signals all in one.
Right.
But don't get your hopes up too much because I think they're a terrible unit. But that's just me.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a
love the
terrible
law,
unit.
but yeah, don't rate the unit.
Yeah, it's so cool in lore. And by the way, there's a numerologist behind the creation of the Saturnine armor. If you didn't know that.
Oh, wow. I did not
Yeah,
know
because
that.
Saturnine armor is so complex that it needed psychic interfaces. And a numerologist and a storm seer from the White Scars were basically behind the invention of this psychic interface for the Saturnine armor.
That's
So
awesome. That's so
yeah, they
cool.
went where Vulcan could not go, basically.
Okay, yeah, yeah, love
Crazy.
that, love that.
But yeah, Numerologist Cabal. It's a legacy unit, so it's not on the Liber. It's an elite choice, and you get basically a squad of the actual numerologist and 4 life wards for 130 points. You may take up to 5 additional life wards for 15 points each, and there is 0-1 option, so you can only run one of these if you ever want to, because maybe you're crazy like me. But yeah, the numerologist essentially is a slightly less powerful centurion. It's got a centurion start line of movement 7, weapon skill 5, BS 4, strength and toughness 4, 2 wounds, so instead of 3. Initiative 5, 2 attacks, I think instead of 3. Leadership 8, cool willpower and intelligence 7, which is the bad part, and 2 up, and no invulnerable save. The life wards are basically the spoilers with extra rules. So the basic, the spoiler marines, weapon skill BS, strength and toughness 4, 1 wound, initiative 4, 2 attacks. Leadership, cool and willpower and intelligence 7 and 3 up. They're basically the spoilers because they're also armed with bolt pistols and chainswords. The numerologist also has a servo arm because, as I said before, it's basically a forge lord.
Yeah.
It would be silly if it didn't have a servo arm. Special rules. This is where it gets spicy. The life wards have the life ward rule, which is basically you cannot snipe the numerologist. Right. So precision shots cannot be allocated to the numerologist while any life ward is alive.
That's interesting. So basically, he's not just got 2 wounds. He's basically got 6 wounds, hasn't he? As a
exactly. Ablative wounds.
Yeah, interesting.
And it used to be interesting in 2nd edition with the amount of like Nemesis bolters going around. Nowadays, barely anyone brings Nemesis bolters, I think. So it's kind of lost in value, but yeah. The numerologist in itself is a like a small librarian, so it has fixed powers. May not take a Prospering Arcana, and gains 2 fixed psychic powers. One from divination, Foresight's Blessing, and the other one from telepathy, telepathy, which is Mind Burst. He can access to a Power Axe, an Akia Force Sword, and a Thunder Hammer in Forge Lord style, and may also swap for a variety of special weapons. For example, I used to run him with Flamer for 5 points. Quite nice, easy status. And you can also take a Cyber Familiar for +2 intelligence, basically.
Which seems to be an auto take, considering
auto take, absolutely,
7. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the powers here: the Foresight's Blessing from divination, Mind Burst from telepathy. Off the top of my mind, Foresight's Blessing basically gives you or the target unit precision 5 up.
Right.
And Mind Burst is an interesting power, but it's a curse. So the enemy needs to take the willpower test.
Yeah.
And it's most likely they're not like 50-50 basically going to succeed and the other 50% of times not succeed.
Yeah.
But what it does is it makes the enemy unit fall back, like make a fall back move. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the turn, if I remember correctly, you test for panic.
Right.
So on paper, it's really good, but it comes with 2 caveats. One, it's a curse, so you don't need to take the willpower test, but the enemy has to, so most likely like 7 or 8 willpower, which means basically a 50-50 chance of succeeding. Yeah. And the most important thing is that it's usable only at the start of the movement phase.
Right.
And if you use this power, which has 18 inches range, which is quite short, you cannot move.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So I don't think it's a great power, honestly. It can be.
Yeah. I'm not filled. Yeah, I'm not filled with. This doesn't fill me with excitement, despite the being pretty,
indeed.
I will say that I actually love this unit.
Really interesting. Yeah, Darren, tell us what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so for me, it's just like I basically have a tech marine that you can't snipe that. In a turn might be pushing enemy units back whilst defending a tank and also repairing a tank. Right. And, for me, it's just like a multi-purpose unit. And although we haven't quite come on to it yet, you can have rotor cannons in that unit. So it might be pinning enemy, pushing them back, repairing tanks. I think it does quite a lot.
It does quite a lot for the points. Okay, well, there you go. Well, now, okay, well, exciting. Yeah.
or it could help an enemy, or it could give precision to one of your units as well. I mean, I think if I think if other people's tech marines could do that, they'd be pretty happy. So I was
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Fair.
yeah,
Fair.
yeah,
Fair.
no,
Fair. Fair. Fair.
yeah.
yeah,
My
cool.
gripe with this is just that it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Does
130
get
points plus
expensive.
all the
Yeah,
stuff that you give him, like the Sada
yeah,
Familia, Nancy Vox, Vixilla, whatever.
Yeah.
It can get pretty expensive, and it's the most intelligent Astartes in the galaxy. It's the men from
yeah.
On
Dune.
a pathetic 7. I
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
Intelligence 7, less than a normal
Yeah.
tech marine? What?
Yeah.
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 Fluff wise,
Excuse
it
me?
doesn't make sense at
It
all.
doesn't
Yeah.
make
It's
sense.
Yeah,
interesting. It feels an elite
Yeah.
choice as well. That one.
And it's an elite choice, exactly. Yeah. So you need to take either your own like Prospering Convocation detachment,
Yeah.
or an Apex,
Yeah.
or a logistical benefit. Like it's
Yeah.
not readily accessible like other units.
Yeah.
Elites are, you need to dedicate some slots for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, but
Yeah.
it hardly does anything for me when I bring him, other than
Okay.
look cool on the battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
yeah. It's always good to have a bit of Master Ruin around. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
nice. Okay, cool. Right, let's have a look at our next unit, which is the Amitara Occult Intercession
Mm.
Cabal. Yeah, so Darren, talk us through these guys. They are a Legion recon choice, these guys. So do they
yeah,
fit? Is this a unit that fits within the Prospering? No,
no,
it's not this
unfortunately
one.
That's fast
not.
attack. Mm.
Yeah, it's basically your elite version of scouts.
Yeah,
So I think in the fluff, they're the Order of Blindness, I think we
Right.
said
yeah.
earlier.
The Ammon's boys, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So as these are basically like veteran style scouts, so they have scout stats, but they have bliss. There's sort of key difference. A bliss skill 5. I think they have a higher cool as well compared to normal
Yeah,
scouts.
Yeah.
And really importantly, they have 2 wounds, which is actually pretty good. Like I've been using Scutari quite a bit recently, and the
hmm
2 wounds does help an awful lot,
Yeah,
even with the
massively
pull-up
so.
save.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so like these have some interesting loadouts as well. They've got the sort of rules that you associate with scouts, like the infiltrate, move, recover, support unit, too. So they've got all that kind of standard
Mm.
scout kind of rules. They can have a Prospering Arcana, which is really good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, they already have the Corvidae Prospering
Oh,
Arcana.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah, nice.
oh,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
they? I mean, if they don't, you would want to give it to them anyway.
Yeah.
So the intercessor can have a Nuncio of Voxes, which is really important because scouts can't normally have Nuncio of Voxes. So
Right.
that's really good actually. And for every 5 models unit, 2 of them can swap. They gain a melter gun, plasma gun, or Ether blaster,
Right.
which is incredibly expensive
Yeah.
because you're paying, I think, 15 points for the melter gun, but
Yeah,
you
that's right.
can have like a unit of 10 with 4 melter guns. It will cost you about 350 points. I'm not
Okie
recommending it.
dokie. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it will
Yeah.
die to 1 plasma blast.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
I think these I would. I mean, I would. It'd be interesting to play around with the melter guns, but realistically, they're there for the Nemesis bolters, sticking on the back lines, trying to snipe some characters and Nuncio Voxes,
Mhm.
using Corvidae so that you get like basically get the rending 5 up, also precision 5 up. So those 5s hit are auto wounding
Yeah.
on the target you want. That's a really good combination. And I think what for me why the 2 wins is even more important is because if I do happen to roll doubles on and take perils on my Arcana, D3 wounds on a unit with 2 wounds each, I should hopefully be losing up to 1 model, but whereas if you've got normal scouts, D3 could be a whole 3 of them, so you feel it a lot more. I think, even though these are about 50% more expensive than normal scouts, I think they
Yeah.
are worth it. They do get very expensive though, so I wouldn't. Like personally, I probably wouldn't go for all the upgrades. I'll probably just put a Nuncio Vox, give them Corvidae, and have about 6 of them trying to snipe out enemy
Yeah.
targets. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, or enemy Nuncio Voxes, as the
Yeah.
case
Yeah,
may be as well.
yeah,
Might be useful.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Nuncio Vox killer. Yeah, very
One
interesting.
thing though
Yeah,
is they
yeah.
can't access. Sorry, they can't access to the Ogre scanner though, which is
It's a shame.
slightly annoying because
Yeah.
yeah, they still can't like ignore shrouded saves.
Yeah,
which
interesting.
feels a little silly for super elite psychic assassins.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
but
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, let's have a look at our next unit. And I think we are now looking at
oh yeah,
characters. Yeah. So Prospero Sorcerer, Legion Command. So this is an unusual one, this one, because basically, we have a model for a Prospero Sorcerer. So it
Mhm.
made sense that they made rules for it. So Andrea, talk us through this one.
Yeah,
105 points for a single sorcerer. Yeah. So this is like the
yeah.
equivalent of a librarian, I guess, right?
But basically, it's a budget librarian
Right.
with fixed psychic powers,
Got it. Got it.
which
Got
is
it.
always what I tell people when they ask me, "What the hell is a prospering sorcerer?" I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
budget librarian.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's a new HQ choice that we got in the new edition. It's a command, so not high command. 105 points for a single sorcerer. It's basically a Centurion, so but with BS5, importantly.
Yeah.
The rest is just Centurion, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks, leadership 8, cool 7, willpower 9, which means 10, of course,
Yeah.
intelligence 8, 2 up, 5 up.
Yeah.
It's equipped with a Prospering Spire Stave, which is a pretty, I think, mediocre weapon. I mean, it's fine against normal armor marines. It's +1 initiative, same attack, same strength, EP3, damage 1, but force damage.
Hmm.
So you can go up to damage 2. So actually quite good against veterans, arguably. But the interesting thing about this is the rule conduit, which is when he manifests a psychic weapon, it can be any psychic weapon. So even the fireball that he gets access to,
Right.
the range strength or melee strength is increased by 1.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, he's got basically 3 fixed psychic powers. He cannot select a Prospering Arcana, but he gets access to Biomantic Slam, which is a melee. Yeah, it's a melee weapon. I can't
It's
remember
a one
exactly.
time. It's like a strength 12
Yeah, exactly.
damage,
It's a
2
high
or 3,
strength
and it's
weapon.
boost 1 attack only, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. It's 1 attack, very high strength, armor bane, damage psychic. I don't know, like
Yeah. It does loads
crazy
of. Yeah.
damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can basically one-shot a vehicle with that. Wildfire, which is one of my favorite psychic powers ever. It's basically a fireball.
Mm.
It's strength 4, AP 4, panic 1, very interesting, and 5 inches area, so the big template.
Mm.
But with his conduit rule, it gets to base strength 5. And this power here, Wildfire, has a range strength, force range strength, so you can double the strength of it. But I usually don't do that because it's base strength 5 anyway
Right.
with his conduit rule. So I don't
Yeah.
really need to bring it up to strength 8 or 9 in this case.
Yeah.
Because I'm using it mostly for the panic 1, not to
Yeah.
kill stuff, but to
Yeah.
panic stuff, basically.
Yeah. Understood.
And immovable force, which is the one that I was mentioning earlier, the one that does pinning 2, I think, or pinning 3 even, something like that. It's 3 shots, strength 5, AP 4, if I remember correctly,
Mm.
and it does pinning, short range as well.
Yeah.
So you have quite a few options. You have 2 ranged weapons that inflict statuses. Most importantly, one of them is panic, which is arguably the best status to
Yeah. Yeah.
inflict. And one of them is a big tank sniper in melee, which is quite useful. It can also be useful against characters if it gets
Mm.
challenged. So,
So the only thing I would say about this guy,
mhm,
so number one, I quite like the conduit rule. I love that the
yeah,
weapon is like a conduit for his other psychic powers. I think that's
yeah,
cool. The only thing I would say is that if I picked a character and then they unlocked the psychic disciplines like the biomancy,
yeah,
the biomancy one, they would get also the additional rules that would go along with that, right? So
mhm,
like,
yeah.
is it telekinesis that gives fear? Is that the one, or is it telepathy that gives
Telepathy.
That's
telepathy?
telepathy that
Yeah.
gives the fear,
So
and
but
telekinesis is a shroud. Yeah,
But what my point I suppose is that this guy does not get access to those
yeah,
special additional bonus rules, which are some of
yeah.
them are like Fear One, Shroud, or whatever. They're very, very
Very
powerful.
powerful. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's kind of like just a bit of a pick and mix, a bit of a taste, a moose bouche of
exactly.
powers
Yeah.
here. but it doesn't necessarily lock you into a power and then give you those additional buffs on top of that.
No, yeah, exactly. But it's a cheap option. It's 105 points.
Yeah.
You usually run him like I don't think it has any like options. Oh yeah, you can swap the bolt pistol for another pistol, but whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a cheap option.
Yeah, I can see this being used as like a the start of an allied detachment maybe, and you just want to dabble with some dark arts or magical arts and
Indeed.
just see what happens. Okay, that's interesting.
As a fireball battery, basically.
Okay, yeah.
A 5-inch blast with Panic 1.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. I love that.
I definitely think this is good if you for that reason of when you're starting out, rather than having to build your own librarian, which has got lots of overlapping rules and powers, you probably ends up with about 6 different special rules. This guy is much more straightforward, just does a lot of damage, and you don't have to think about what he's equipped with. He pretty much comes as stock. It's a real shame he can't take an Arcana, but
it's a poor man's librarian, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. Okay, let's have a look at I think some name characters now. So Magister Ammon. So basically, this guy was like head of the Secret Service of the on Prospero, right? Like he was the guy who was kind of like the master of secrets, like the equivalent of like Wellington spy masters during the Napoleonic War, I guess would be the equivalent. So I'll just run through him because he's one of my faves. So it's he's 185 points. He's got Legion High Command. In terms of stats, they're pretty Praetor level. Weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5 is really nice. Initiative and attacks 5. I mean, 5 attacks is good, but that's kind of Praetor level. Leadership 10, cool 9, willpower 9, but of course it's actually 10. Intelligence 9, which is pretty good. Then 2 up, 4 up. He's equipped with the Reliquary of Dust. So this is a pretty fruity weapon because it's range 12. It's 2d6. So it could be 12. Could be 2, but it is range strength 1, but that's okay because it's poison 5 up. It's AP 6, damage 1. It's got poison 5 up, breaching 5 up, stun 3. That's where it is, isn't it? I mean, it's the stun 3 because with those stun weapons, you don't even need to wound. You just need to hit, and then there's potential stun there. And of course, because he's got telepathy, he's also, am I right in saying, guys, he's Fear 1 as well in the 12-inch bubble? Yep. So actually, it's the equivalent of stun 4, essentially, that. But the sad thing is, it's limited 1. So use it at the right time. Snipe out the Nuncio Vox with your super duper, like, ninja assassin magical dudes and then hit them with this.
I mean, he could snipe with this actually because he got divination. So
right,
okay, why not just do it all?
Okay, nice. I love that. And then he's the Reliquary of Dust has it's obviously a close combat weapon as well. It goes at initiative. It's base attack, base strength, AP2. AP2 is actually not bad, damage 1, and it's poison 2 up as well. So that's actually like. Yeah, he's going to be hitting a lot of things on 3s and 4s and then just wounding on 2 pluses. Darren, have you managed to use this guy yet in any games?
I've used him a couple of times, and I think it's worth noting that because he's got divinations, he's got duelist edge 2 as well. So he is going normally before most other characters. I think he's really good. I haven't really used the infiltrate very much yet. I think that's interesting. I think it's a bit risky to put your Master Legion out on the line, but there might be some interesting builds you could do with that. Weirdly, he's not part of any Arcana cult, so I'm pretty sure he set up the Corvidae cult.
He used to be the Magister Templi, so the high head of the Corvidae temple.
Yeah, that's what.
Ahriman took its place.
And apparently he's forgotten how to use
unfortunately. So can he pick? He can just pick any Arcana, can he? Or is he locked into an Arcana?
He can't have one. I don't.
No, he can't. Yeah, he's just locked with.
Because he's a unique character. Right. That's interesting.
But I mean, honestly, he's amazing. Basically, he offers a lot. Really good duelist, and like we said, like great for putting out a status. So pretty powerful.
Yeah, nice. And of course, he unlocks a Apex detachment as High Command as well. So yeah, that's really nice. Okay, cool. Let's quickly go over to the next guy, Azek Araman. So Darren, walk us through Chief Librarian.
Yeah, so someone who is part of the Corvidae. So So this guy, I think Araman has got a great fluff for one thing. He's actually got some decent 40k books on him as well.
Yeah, they are good actually. They're really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically Praetor level stat line. I think what sets him apart is that he has divination. He does come with thaumaturgy as well, which uh, I don't think I've ever used, but it does have
Maybe.
a niche application of you could do a reaction and on 4+ you can return a model, which could be from a shooting attack, I should say, which it could even be Araman himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Never use it though; it's quite risky, but he's got it anyway. I think the main thing is he's got divination and he's got Corvidae, so he can join a unit like maybe siege terminators or anything with basically that wants to get he's rending, he can give that to the unit.
Yeah.
So he's a good support character. He's got divination, so he can pass out precision shots as well. So you can sort of see like, oh wait a minute, what if I combine both of those? Like he can't be.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he can't combine. He can't combine it himself in the same unit because that's two powers. But like, if you have another unit with like Corvidae, he can give them the divination power to give them precision 5 up, and then they can get the rending 5 up. So you do have to play around with things a bit, but he obviously gives a lot of powers that are really useful. In the challenge, he's just amazing. I think that's probably the main thing. He's
One of the best characters in challenges in the
Yeah.
whole third edition. It's crazy.
I think I've defeated Sigmund about 3 times now with this
Yeah.
guy. And if that's
Yeah.
not a good sign.
Yeah.
Khan a few times as well, but he's a bit harder. But basically, I think it comes into the fact that he's got divination for the duelist edge 2. His Corvidae Scepter has got a +1 initiative. So before any modifiers, he's looking at initiative of 8, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So
+3 base.
Yeah.
Crazy.
yeah. His strength is only with the scepter is only 5, which is a little bit on the low side. It's probably the only thing that lets him down, but honestly, it's not the biggest problem. It's got AP2, damage 1, force damage, so it can go up to damage 2, and critical 6 up. So actually, it could be damage 3 per hit.
Yeah.
And when you go before other opponents, normally, that's really good. And also, I should say, as part of the divination lore, you also get a special gambit. So basically, if you take it, I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head now, but it's every strike force scene.
Every strike force scene. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And basically, if you take that and you pick that, it will give you hit on I think you have to take a test, but if you pass, you hit on a 2 up. So not only is he going first, he's probably hitting whoever on a 2 up. With a weapon that could be up to 3 damage.
So it's not necessary for him to use the Thousand Suns gambit really, because
not really.
He's already getting to like 8 and then plus a dice roll, and then so actually he's probably going to get over that 10.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I think canny opponents will try and block you from using that gambit if they get the challenge initiative. But it's very hard if he's aggressively, if he's gone into your unit, he'll probably go first and he'll continue probably to keep on that challenge initiative. Or challenge advantage, I think it's called. Because remember, if he wins the challenge advantage, he's also 6 attacks now as well. So as of course, so it's like he's really, really dangerous in a fight, in a duel.
Massively dangerous.
And that's also like he might in a turn. Like I use him often in a Land Raider, so quite often he'll come out the Land Raider. He'll give the Land Raider precision 5 up, wound the opponent, and then then go in with all that. It's like
you can target vehicles with precision, the divination power. Yep, you can.
Yeah. I think so.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's really good in a duel. Even if that's not the fairest way to play with a duel, it's
that's the thing, because I think they never got him right, because in second edition they made him very weak, like weaker than a Praetor, and you should be at least like a Praetor, but he used to give like great buffs to your army, like you could swift.
So amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that was crazy. Yeah. But then here they made him probably the best duelist in third edition. Yeah. Like no, Ahriman is not a duelist.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely think
his weapon is better than Gorechild and the Black Sword.
Yeah, it kind of just, I
What?
suppose it leans into that idea that he can see all the paths ahead,
Yeah.
can see what his opponent's going to do. Yeah, cool. Okay, right. Well, let's go on to the big man
Ooh,
himself, which is Magnus the Red.
the man
So
that did everything
Andreas,
wrong.
Andrea, why don't you talk us through this? And then I know though that Darren has used him, so he can kind of like chip in and tell us other bits and
I
bits and
can
yeah,
definitely let
yeah, and yeah.
Darren just go through this if he
Okay.
wants, because I haven't used
Yeah, okay.
him.
Well, let's let Darren go through and then
Yeah,
because
Yep,
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
To be fair, I think I may have only used them once before. You know,
Well, it's
that's
more
I
than
think,
100%
I've been
more
using them.
times than
yeah,
Andreas.
yeah,
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Exactly.
I think unfortunately, like a lot of you don't see Primarchs as much these days.
No,
But
no, not that much. Yeah.
he's got he's a Warlord slot, Paragon as you might expect from a Primarch. So stat wise, pretty solid. Movement 8, Web skill 7, sixes on the BS strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, and attacks. Leadership 12, cool 10, willpower 11, which will go up to 12 with the Thousand Sun special rule, and intelligence 10 with 2 up, 4 up save. So with that willpower 12, I think he still failed if you roll double six,
yeah,
but
that's
Yeah.
right.
it
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, even if you've got someone causing fear or some modifier on you, you're still going to be passing.
That's a good point. I hadn't actually clocked that. That's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah,
the modifier
yeah.
side.
Fear does unfortunately affect willpower. So yeah, and night lords are a bit of a problem.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
So special rules. He's got bulky 5, Eternal Warrior 2, Star of the Thousand Suns, the Arc Sorcerer, Shroud 6 up, and Battle of the Wills. So we'll go over what those are exactly. So Star of the Thousand Suns means that if you have 4 more troop slots filled in your with the Prospering Arcana trait or upgrade, then all troops are prime. It's just one of the standard kind of like get 4 or something.
Primarch things, isn't it?
Yeah, you get a bonus. Yeah, it's nice, you know. Also, in the first turn, you roll 3d6 for your psychic checks, and you can pick which two you like, which is nice because it means you can potentially avoid perils, but also you can hopefully get more powers off. It's really good. But it's only on the first turn, so in my experience,
Yeah.
it was very limited impact. I think actually it's first game round, I think maybe, but anyway, it's not a lot of impact anyway.
Yeah.
So he has all of the arcanas, which is really good. So you don't have to choose, you don't have to pay upgrades. It's just have them.
Not
Just
for Syrian though. That's
Oh yeah,
important.
it's
No,
true.
yeah, not
Yeah,
a
it's
Syrian.
true.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
interesting
true.
that, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
all
it's a thing
500
that they
numbers
invented like pretty
post.
recently in the
Yeah.
lore.
Yeah.
It's not in the original lore, so
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Unfortunately, was on the planet Sorcerers probably when that got invented or something like that.
exactly,
You know,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
not sure what he was up to, but yeah. So and also he has Battle of the Wheel Gambit. So you can basically gain a bonus to your focus roll equal to the difference between Magnus's and his opponent's willpower. Which again, that willpower 12 coming into effect.
Yeah.
I think like probably one of the main things is that you can buy 2 psychic powers like a librarian can, and I think at that point you can really dictate how you want him to play. Like you could be a
Yeah.
support character with stuff like you're trying to use maybe divinations, but I think most time it will probably be like Biomancy is really good on him. You know, if you get because if you're playing with Primarch, you're probably playing against another Primarch, and
Yeah.
actually he will smash another Primarch. Like
Oh yeah.
like especially if he gets things like Biomancy, he's. I'm not sure if he's got his weapon on the next slide. Actually,
Yeah,
he
I
does.
think it is. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, before I go into too much detail, basically, I don't even know how you pronounce that.
Blade of Arn Nunuta, I think it is.
That's
Okay.
perfect. Perfect
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an ancient goddess.
So it's funny, you sort of read this stuff all the time, but you don't normally
Yeah,
pronounce
yeah.
it.
You don't have to say it out loud, do you? Yeah.
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 So basically, it is his initiative, his attacks at +1 strength, so strength 8 with AP 2, damage 2, but force D, which is
Yeah,
amazing
wow.
because in the
Yeah.
Primarch on Primarch battle, they've got Eternal Warrior at least 2, maybe
Yeah.
higher, but
Yeah.
the ones with Eternal Warrior 2, you can start doing 2 damage to with this, which
Yeah,
is
great.
amazing.
Yeah,
If
really good.
Yeah.
if you go for divinations to give yourself duelist edge 2, You're all of a sudden going before most other Primarchs.
Yeah.
You also can get +2+ to hit, like we just did with Araman.
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then and those are not psychic powers in themselves, so you can, in a perfect storm, have biomancy hitting on twos, you know, and be this amazing, you know,
Yeah, super
absolute
duper.
god
Yeah,
tier
you can do
level.
like 5 or 6
Bamboozling.
willpower tests.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God, that's
You
crazy.
know,
Going
isn't it?
super buffed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
breaking Russ's spine on your knee, you know,
Oh, the knee, yeah.
rewriting some history there. You
Yeah,
know,
too right.
yeah, he
I
can be pretty
wish.
amazing.
Yeah.
He also has a pretty decent gun. It's got only range 15, firepower 3, strength 6, AP 2 for 1 damage. Pretty reasonable. Nothing too super exciting. I think because he'll have so many psychic weapons as well. Like if you
Yeah.
put this
Yeah.
guy into like an army builder, he has just about 20 different special rules.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Okay. Yeah. Nuts.
he'll have, you know, like about 6 or so different weapons that you can pick from.
Yeah.
So you'll probably find something suitable for the situation you're in.
Yeah. It's the agony of choice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Swiss Army knife of
Yeah.
psychic powers,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
100%.
So he's just a mega librarian. He's just really good, but he will go up against most of the Primarchs that aren't like juiced up by the power of chaos, basically. So yeah, he's pretty good.
Awesome, nice work. Okay, great. Well, that was a tour de force of kind of units and their special rules. But what we're going to do now is go through Legion, the Legion list that you guys have created for us.
Yep.
So Andrea's brought 3 lists, and Darren, have you got 3 or a couple? I can't remember.
Just brought the one.
One, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so Darren's is basically based on the Saturnine box. So if you bought the Saturnine box, yeah, you've got a list there that you can create, which is really cool. And Andrea, you've created lists. Tell me the theme of these lists? Just each of them is based around one of like the orders of the
Exactly,
prospectors, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
precisely. Because so if you want to go a little bit deeper into Thousand Sons lore and read from the black books, which I highly recommend, by the way, it's got a like an enriched lore.
Yeah.
And the organization of the Thousand Sons is pretty complex, like on Dark Angels levels.
Yeah.
So you've got the orders, the cults, and all stuff like that. And the Rahati around Magnus, every kind of stuff. But you also have the 3 so-called red orders, which are the Order of the Jackal, Order of Blindness, and my personal favorite, the Order of Ruin.
Yeah.
Which is basically the siege breakers and siege experts and expert of destruction that work in close proximity with the Mechanicum of Zawakad. And the other 2 orders, which are the themes of these 2 lists that I've brought here. The first one is themed around the Order of Blindness, which is basically the MI6 of the Thousand Sons.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, so walk us through the list and then tell us how it's intended to work, because it sounds absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, so the head of the Order of Blindness was Ammon, as we just saw. So I put just Ammon as the warlord, basically, the high command of the list. Yeah. Seems quite fitting. Then I put a stock centurion just to open up some detachments, and it is said in a small sentence in the black books that the few destroyer units that the Thousand Sons had were most likely under the Order of Blindness, under Ammon's command.
Got it.
Which unleashed them just in very few occasions where it was absolutely necessary. So I put some destroyers in here. I put a Moritat with the overcharged plasma pistols, melter bombs, and Raptora. Raptora being the Telecan shield one, absolutely amazing. A Vigilator, because the Order of Blindness is basically infiltrators, assassins, so it fits the
feels perfectly right. Yeah. Yeah.
Paragon of Battle, because you know the critical hits, I believe, on 4 or 5 ups, something like that.
I think it's a 5, is it, or a 6?
I think it's a 5, with BS7, something absolutely crazy, psycho bonkers. Great unit. I've used it once. It sniped a Praetor. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, so good.
2 attack squads. 1 of 15 with Nanciovox, Raptora, and the Interdiction Cadre Prime Advantage. I think it's a great Prime Advantage.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be kind of in the theme because
Really fitting. Really fitting.
yeah, they pop up
Yeah.
out of nowhere,
Yeah, I
you know,
love that.
and kind of behind enemy lines.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
they kind of fit the infiltration theme of this order here.
Yeah.
Tactical squad of 10, Nazi-Vox, Raptora. Again, Raptora everywhere because it's just amazing for Shrouded. And a Rhino for the 10-man squad. And then I have two auxiliary with Combat Pioneers. One with a 10-man squad of Amitara called Intercession Cabal, the super scouts with Nemesis Bolters and Corvidae.
Love it.
Nazi-Vox, of course, because it's a great piece of equipment. And then I put in the rest of the slots of the 2 Combat Pioneers 3 Sabres.
Wow, yeah, don't see much of those, but yeah, okay, that's
know.
awesome. Yeah, lovely.
I put some thought behind this. I think they fit the theme of the list, being like fast recon vehicles that can outflank and kind of pop out of nowhere. So they fit the theme, but also I found a use for them. Like they're pretty flimsy vehicles, but if you put them in outflank with multi-melters, they can pretty much come within melter range of your vehicles in rear. Which is quite nasty most of the times.
I play against an Alpha Legion player who loves doing that exact tactic, and it's actually pretty effective.
Okay,
it's pretty effective. Yeah, they also move like 16, I think.
Yeah,
so they come
nuts. They
come out of the side field. They move 16, come within melter range in your back probably, or in your flank if you're unlucky, and just snipe vehicles. And the neutron blaster, I think it's actually a good weapon.
It's good. Does the neutron blaster have shock as well?
Yeah, shock suppressed. I would say.
I think it is. I think so. Yeah,
it's a good weapon. Yeah. But then, a destroyer assault squad of 10, which you can arguably split into 2 units of 5 if you want. Absolutely no harm in that. Double hand flamers, sergeant with thunderhammer to give them a little bit of oomph in combat. Melter bombs and phosphex bombs because who doesn't like bombs? Soul launchers and a couple of paraxes, so they can defend themselves off of nasty combat units. And finally, Seekers, because Seekers fit perfectly in the theme of recon and assassins of this list. Only 8 because of points. Sergeant, again, with Thunderhammer, because I thought of putting Ammon in them in infiltration. Which means they're going to be pretty close to enemy lines and they're going to get charged most likely than not. So a Thunderhammer and Ammon in a unit can be pretty, can say something in melee, I think.
100%. Yeah, no, I love it.
And that's it.
Yeah, love it. And then basically, this is just a total character murdering list, isn't it? Like, it destroy the tanks, get things out of the tanks, and then just murder the stuff that's just kind of like come out.
Murder the command line of the enemy and just leave them in shambles completely.
Yeah, love this. I think this is such a cool list, so themed and really unlike a lot of stuff that you would generally see in 3.0 at the moment. So that's love it. I think it's pretty. Darren, what's your hot take on this list?
I really like it. I've been using destroyers a bit in Zomotas, and it makes me go, I'd like to run this. I think the Order of Ruin is probably one of the best as well, like fluff wise. So I think this is really cool. I definitely I might well give this a go.
Nice one. Okay, cool. Well, let's have a look at your second list then, and then exactly the same. So just talk us through.
2,500, kind of the midpoint between the first and the third.
Sorry, that was Order of Blindness. That one, wasn't it? Sorry.
The first one was the Order of Blindness. This is the Order of the Jackal, which is lore-wise, I think, the most interesting because the Jackal in ancient Egyptian mythology is associated to Anubis, which is the guardian of the afterlife, basically, and it presides to the cycle of death and rebirth, death and life, basically. And it got transported completely exactly into Thousand Sons lore. So the Order of the Jackal is the overseer, basically, of life and death, of the cycle of rebirth and death. So lots of apothecaries, lots of inductae, because
the new and the old, the new and the venerable, right?
The rebirth, the cycle of rebirth, and also the death, which is represented by dreadnoughts, ancients, near death, put into basically sarcophagi, walking sarcophagi, and Kennetai. The Kennetai were in lore protectors of the dead in the pyramids on
Yeah.
Tisca, so it would be fitting to put them in this list.
Love that. Okay, yeah, I did not know that. That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so this is quite low on characters compared to the first list. It doesn't have a high command because I thought it would be fitting. It's quite a like a secondary order compared to the other echelons of the Legion.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think a Praetor would be seconded to the Order of the Jackal. Just lower rank, like apothecaries and stuff like that. So I put a Centurion with a Thunderhammer and Athenaean because Athenaean is great to get rid of statuses. A champion because it fits in the Kenetai, protecting the pyramids, protecting the dead kind of vibe. With Paragon of Battle because it's, I mean, weapon skill 7, great, absolutely amazing. Melter bombs because I actually love melter bombs. If
they're
you get
so
into
good. They're so good. They're so good. Yeah,
they're so good. Yeah. And a mortificator, which you don't really see that often. But since we went, well, I thought of going into dreadnoughts galore in this list. I mean, a mortificator.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
The Doc, but Raptora, and I thought of making him run around with one of the dreadnoughts that I brought. Maybe the melee Leviathan that we'll see in a second. And then, again, as I said, Inducti. So 1 of 10 with Nunciovox and Asphyx Bolters, and as we said previously, a big blob of 20, nasty with Asphyx Bolters, rending 6 up, breaching 6 up. Fantastic.
Great.
With the Centurion going around for higher leadership.
Yeah.
A normal tactical squad, because I discovered quite recently that Inducti can't be Prime.
Yeah.
So I had to.
I didn't know that. That's
Inducti can't take Prime advantages, so it can be used to fill Prime slots.
Okay,
so I had to take a normal tac squad to have a logistical benefit to open up a Leviathan Dreadnought slot.
Yeah.
The only way I've been able to use it effectively is a melee configuration for a Leviathan.
Yeah.
I haven't had great success with a ranged configuration, so I thought of just bringing a melee Leviathan with a Siege Claw and a Melter Gun and a Siege Drill with a Melter Gun.
Yeah.
Phosphex, because I love Phosphex. War Crimes, yay, and Raptora. I mean, a Leviathan with 4-up, Shrouded. It's just
so powerful.
Nasty, amazing.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, 2 Rhinos, 1 with Havoc Launcher because I had points. Another War Engine that opens up a Deredeo Dreadnought with the heavy Last Cannon Battery to give us a much needed anti-tank, which in this list is kind of lacking. And the Boreas Air Defense Missiles, which are great, I think. Raptora, again, why not? Shrouded 4-up. And the Dreadnought Talon, which is opened up by the Mortificator, in this case. 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts, which I thought of giving 2 different Arcanas to kind of showcase what you can do with them.
Yeah.
One with double Gravis Plasma Cannon, which gets the overload, but it's negated by Osirian.
Of course. Yep.
And the other one with autocannons, which you can go in combo with Corvidae to get the Rending 5 up, auto wounds, which are also breaching,
and then get my breaching.
Exactly.
So, nice.
Absolutely nasty. Same amount of points, but absolutely nasty, both of them. 3 apothecaries because it's basically the core of the theme of the Order of Jackal, and finally some Kenetai, 10 of them, just stock, no special pistols or whatnot, in a Land Raider with last cannons and a multi-melter because I had points. And that's it.
That's great. What a cool and awesome list. So how many you got? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not outrageous in terms of its number of dreadnoughts, but I think 4. The concept behind it is great. And I love that idea of it being like a secondary order. You know, it's not like it's not appropriate that High Command is rolling with it. It's it's filled with apothecaries and things like that. Darren, what's your hot take on this one? You could probably make something like a list like this, could you, with your 15,000 points?
I could probably do the other one as well. Just got to paint them on, but this one I think is really good as well. I mean I think the Contemptor with the Grav Sort of Cannon is really good as well. The Deredeo, I think, just in general, is amazing.
You've got a lot of love for that.
I could probably go on about that for a while, but it's super underrated in my opinion.
I agree.
But it's really interesting to find about the apothecaries, because I normally find I guess it's for the theme for one thing, but I normally find with I've got my own reactions already for like 10 points. I don't find the apothecary to be that appealing normally. But in this list, I can see the use because it's like you've got the Inducti. I'm assuming the Apothecary might go in there because they don't have Raptora to defend
Exactly.
against
Yeah.
spells.
Yeah.
So
And
you've
one with the Kennetai, but
nice. Yeah, because
not
they,
really.
again, they can't have they can't choose their Arcana, so it just means that actually, it just means that either you've got most of your units can either return fire really effectively, or they can get a Forest
Exactly. Yeah.
Shroud, or they can get the really complicated, overly convoluted
Yeah.
apothecary rules to help
Yeah,
them
I've
out.
chosen three specifically because they go into units that can access to Arcanas, so
Nice.
you get a reaction for the medic one. So
Yeah, that's
Yes.
really cool.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. That's clever. So just a reminder for you guys. So the Inducti squads and the Kennetai, basically, they have their kind of Arcana built in. So that's why Andrea can't kind of buy them an Arcana because it's already built in. So they do have something already built in, but then adding Apothecary and then with Raptora then gives them that tasty
yeah,
shroud.
it's a cheap way of adding like another Arcana in a unit. It's like 40 points. It's
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the Apothecary is great on 2 wound models, just due
Oh
to the
yeah,
nature
absolutely. Yeah.
of nature of how the Apothecarian
Yeah.
rules work. Okay, well, two really lovely themed lists there. I thought, really, really nice, and it's cool to see things that aren't. It's just a bit different, I think, is the thing I would say.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah,
is
just
also
why
great,
not?
yeah, exactly. But also, what's great is that Darren's got one, particularly if you're new to the Legion as well, because this box is still available right now. So if we just go over to your list, Darren.
Sure.
So this box is still available right now, and what Darren has done for us is created a list, basically kind of like based around that box. Do I need to buy a couple more boxes, or is
Yeah,
it?
you
Yeah, okay, cool.
definitely.
But
Yeah,
basically, the core will be kind of the Saturnine box, right?
yeah, I've tried to use as much from Sandland box as possible to make this
Yeah,
a relatively cheap entry point, but also one that's thematic for third edition. So I've
yeah.
tried to be like, I'm using my Saturnine, I've got
Perfect,
rapiers in here and Arachne and stuff, I've
perfect.
so
Yeah,
and hopefully I think I've tallied this up around £400 depending on how you do certain things.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
hopefully good
Which is
entry
not
point.
actually 400 points. Sorry, £400 for something that's going to keep you entertained for probably the next 4 or 5 months in terms of like creating your list and like building it
Oh
and
yeah.
those sorts of things is
Yeah,
actually like it's cheaper than golf, I suspect.
yeah.
So 3,000 points. So talk us through it and then talk us through how you reckon like the list will work.
Sure. So I'm starting off with Saturnine Praetor with a Fist and Hammer, Plasma Blaster, Pavoni, and Pavoni Arcana. So fairly expensive, but a really good smash character. I think sort of mentioned it a bit earlier on, but the Prophetic Duelist is just amazing on this guy because he's effectively initiative 0 in a duel because he's heavy with that hammer. But instead of like only rolling a d6, basically, you
Yeah.
can just default that to 10, which
Oh
when
my
you've got
god. That's
a damage
oh my god,
through
when you
weapon,
say it, it's like, oh my
yeah,
god.
it's like all of a sudden you're going before most
Because
people.
that hammer is just basically a Primarch weapon, and the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah,
it can go first, or is more
Yeah.
like likely to go first, you're just like, I'm just going to get twatted by that hammer, and there's
yeah,
nothing I can
exactly.
do about it.
He is
Nothing I can
really
do. Yeah.
difficult
Yeah,
to deal with. Like he will, yeah, he's yeah, he's really really powerful. And even if they can go before him, well, he can probably tank the hits anyway. So
yeah,
yeah, pretty good. So Saturnine Centurion, lesser seen Saturnine Centurion, but I kind of needed to open up some slots and it fit the theme.
yeah. Nice.
I've also given him Plasma Bombard, Fist Particle Shredder, which is probably the most dangerous of the weapons, and the Pavoni. He will go into Unit Saturnine, we'll talk about later.
Just
But
remind us what the Pavoni does again,
sure. So
or
that
remind
will
me what
give
the Pavoni does again, rather.
it basically that one will give him +2, hopefully +2 toughness, which
Right.
when you're a toughness 6 model with their
Bloody hell.
shield, it's
Yeah,
like, well, all of a sudden,
yeah.
you're going to toughness 8. Melter, I think, is
Well,
normally winding you on 5s,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and like, even if you get hit by a conversion beam, which is probably the bane of most Centurion,
yeah,
most Saturnine,
yeah,
you're actually, they're normally strength 7 if they move, they might
yeah,
be wounding you on a 5 up, or,
yeah. And bolters can't hurt you, right? I mean, that's the other thing here.
Yeah.
Like because
um,
Walking
you're
bricks
because you're
yeah,
of
toughness 8,
concrete.
like bolters
yeah,
can't. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
really survivable. And he's in a unit that will help with that even more. So the next choice is Librarian or Force Axe, because unfortunately that's the only Force weapon that's worth really considering.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
Biomancy, Divination, Raptora, and
Yeah.
Prime Advantage, Paragon Battle.
Yeah.
So this is basically my absolute smash librarian. It's probably the most basic like librarian you can have, but it will
Yeah.
just go into, much like my Praetor can go into most challenges and come out on top.
Yeah.
Because just to summarize, he like the we've touched on it a bit, but Biomancer can give +2 strength and toughness. The divination means that he's got duelist edge 2. He's starting on initiative 6 with -1 for the force axe normally, and +2 for divination. So he's still relatively high. And he's Paragon Battle, so he's worm skill 6, and he'll have what, 5 attacks. So the force axe can as force damage. So yeah, he can also use the divination every strike foreseen to hit on a 2-up. So he's gonna go through even Praetor level characters,
Yeah.
So
Absolutely mental.
Crazy.
yeah,
Mental.
so
Crazy. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can make more nuanced librarians, but I thought like this is just one that you can have a lot of fun
Let's
with.
just go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let's just
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
So I've also got 10 Inducti with the A6 bolters and Nunciovox. I think whack these in Rhino, get them on board, and Dackering. So pretty straightforward, but fun. That slot could, to be honest, because it's a prime slot, you could put tactical marines in with combat veterans if you want to be a bit boring. But it's
Yeah.
it could be
This
it could go either way.
showcases the Legion, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's got the Arachne in here. And the main reason I think the Arachne, in my experience, works quite well if you've got something for it to defend. So in this case, I've got the laser rapiers that have also got Raptora.
Yeah.
So which is the crazy thing that even your artillery can have this. So
Yeah.
if they're next to the Arachne, they can have a 5-up invulnerable
Yeah.
and a 4-up shroud.
Yeah. That's great.
So because I find laser rapiers can be a little fragile sometimes. This will
Very,
just mean
very fragile. Yeah.
yeah, this will just keep them going. And
Yeah.
the Arachne is good in my opinion because when you're shooting something, there's also return fire can be quite deadly to rapiers.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh, yeah.
hopefully, as the main anti-tank in the army, the rapiers will stay alive. The Arachne I found actually fairly useful for it probably will shoot 4 turns. Probably most time people don't deal with it. It just constantly just sits there,
Yeah.
doing some damage, probably
Yeah.
putting some statuses on lighter vehicles,
Yeah.
Not amazing, but decent.
Decent. Yeah.
So then we've got Prosperine Convocation. So we've got 5 Sekhmets. We've got a Thunderhammer on the Inceptor. We've got 2 of the Kia Force Swords because they're still pretty decent default weapon. 2 more Thunderhammers, and we've got the Athenea Arcana. It kind of comes back to that. If you've got a Terminator unit, they've kind of now got a psychic Nunciovox. It's amazing. And they've also, one of them can cause panic check through a weapon. So they would normally go with, in my mind, with the Librarian. So hopefully they'll be getting being buffed up by Biomancy as well.
Yeah.
Biomancy tends to work better when you've got slower units because the big risk with Biomancy is that if you do roll a double for your test, you can get stunned when you're just doing a setup move. So it won't like make you slower in the setup move, but it just means that you're striking at a lower initiative, which is something like a Terminator. It's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a risk, but in this case, it's not a massive one. Then we've got 10 tactical marines with the I've got Augury's Scanner. That's definitely supposed to be a Nunciovox.
Nunciovox, yeah. Okay, yeah. Interesting choice, yeah.
Yeah.
So as well,
Yeah, obviously Nunciovox there. And Athenea Arcana. So basically, even if they get 2 statuses on them, they can remove them both. And even if one of my more elite units gets a status on them, this is the backbone of that, like status removing units that I have in my army. So they'll probably be sitting on an objective and claim objective and hopefully removing statuses from other units. As what part of that convocation, I've also got the Land Raider with his twin las cannons, give myself a little bit more anti-tank. The second Prosperine Convocation has got the Numerologist. Power Axe is for 5 points is just really cheap upgrade. He's got the Cyber Familiar as well, so he effectively intelligence 9 at that point. So he actually will pass some of those repair exams that he has to take. So he's got 7 life wars, and 2 of those have rotor cannons. Um, so which actually might be a mistake. I think only one could have a rotor cannon. Thinking back
Right, okay.
because of the size of the
It's
unit, but that
one
might.
every 5, I think.
Yeah, I think that's me playing around with
So
it.
yeah.
But so basically, that's not me. But anyway, so basically, I think this unit I see is like kind of talking about earlier. It's just a really nice utility unit. Just like I'm
Yeah.
not giving up first strike as well from an easy tech marine being
Yeah,
sniping
that's a
out.
good point. That's a good point. Yeah, very good point.
They've at least got to kill 7 other guys.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully. I'd probably put this near to the Arachne, and I've got a Dreadnought coming up later as well. He can like give that position 5 up, or he can potentially scare a unit that's coming towards them or on an objective, and push them back. He rotor cannon will hopefully pin, and of course he's repairing at the same time. So I think he can do quite a lot in a phase, even if individual bits aren't super strong. Like because he's Fortunately, his willpower and intelligence are not the best, so he's not super reliable. But I think he does. I think he offers enough. And then also, I know it's a legacy unit, but at the end of the day, if that legacy unit goes in the next edition, you've got a Tech Marine and some Disballers, so it's pretty
100%.
safe bet.
100%. 100%.
Then we've got 10 Marines. Again, they should have a Nuncio Vox,
That's a voice, yeah.
and Athenair, and they've got the Prime Combat Veterans. Just a really good Prime tab for
Yeah,
them for the
nice.
reasons we talked about.
Yeah.
And we got Land Raider again. So for the Land Raiders, I should say one of them is obviously going to have the Sekhmet. The other Land Raider will have the Saturn 9 Praetor, and it also will have some Saturn 9 Command Squad, which will come up in a minute.
Leads us nicely to the Apex detachment
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
so this is, I think, this is a fantastic detachment. This Apex
Really.
Line Breaker Echelon. So we've got 3 Saturn 9 Terminators with plasma bombards, the Fist Particle Shredder, and the Siren. So they'll be joined, and they also have the Prime Master Sergeant. And I think why that's important is probably getting the most out of the Centurion, because then when the Centurion have an average weapon skill 5, so all of a sudden they're actually like a reasonable threat in combat as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, very good point.
So
Yeah.
they're a bit slow, but I kind of see these as like either slowly going towards a nearby objective or just standing, maybe defending your backfield objective. They can give out some firepower. They can definitely fight in combat as well.
Yeah.
They with the Pavoni from the Centurion, like we said, that whole unit's really tough. And if you do take wounds, the Siren means that you can even regain them as well.
Yeah.
So you can even, potentially, if you want to, put a few wounds on your Centurion as well to kind of, minimize, minimize your losses and kind
Yeah.
of give yourself some more time to heal back.
Yeah.
So the other unit we've got are the Saturn Command Squad. So this is where the Praetor's going into
Yeah.
the Land Raider. So only 3 of them go in there, but it's a really powerful unit still. With the Paired Fist and the Command Squad Terminators have 3 attacks anyway. So I think they're 4 attacks each, and so even though there's only 3 of them, they're going to give out a good number of attacks. They also have a Siren, so that Saturn 9 Praetor, as tough as he is, I think he's got 6 wounds, I think, from memory.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he can
Should be,
regain them.
Yeah,
It's like
that's insane.
so he's going to be so hard to take down. And this squad again, if it starts off average weapon skill 5, but you lose one guy, you're up to average weapon skill 6.
Yeah.
So really, I think like both of your Land Raiders have got quite slow moving squads inside them. So I feel like they might run up the field and the enemy just moves and react away, but
Yeah.
you can hopefully just push them back, because the threat of these guys is quite hard to deal with, and shooting them is quite problematic as well, because
Yeah.
both of your Saturn 9 squads are hopefully going to be toughness 8 and regaining wounds. So pretty good. So then the last one we've got it's a unit from one of the previous lists actually. It's a Contemptor Dreadnought with 2 Gravis autocannons with Corvidae, just to kind of show off a bit of the Corvidae. Like we said, given the rending. I think this probably goes best with the numerologists, probably work in tandem with this one to like give it precision 5 up, and this gives then rending 5 up. And now we're sort of with the damage 2 autocannons were starting to take down centurions, and that sort of level of characters. Um, and as well as the numerologist can obviously repair this guy as well. So yeah, and it's just nice to see something a little bit different on a Contemptor. So yeah, that's the list.
Man, that's such a cool list. Like, I love the base of it from the Saturnine box, because actually the base of it just gets you a long way. There's a couple of things that you need to, buy, a couple of conversions here and there. But man, yeah, a really, really cool list. Not something that I've seen in this build before as well, leaning heavily on, the Segmet, but also on the Saturnine Terminator Command Squad as your kind of like dual kind of assault elements. Yeah, love it. Absolutely brilliant. Right, let's just go to final thoughts, because we've just gone past, it's actually gone past 10 o'clock at night, and it's going to be even later in Milan, isn't it? So, so just a few final thoughts from me. So the first thing I just want to say is a massive thank you to both of you for joining us. Like, it is clear to me just by doing this show for the past kind of 2.5 hours that you guys are experts in all things Thousand Suns. So you've definitely earned your professorships at the Prospering School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And I think that just my kind of, again, my initial thoughts is that it's a really complex legion, isn't it? Like, not only is the list building a complex challenge, but also making use of what you've put in your list actually in game is quite a complicated challenge to kind of be like, this is the right power to use at this point, because this will leverage this will leverage and put me in the best possible position. So I think if you're looking for a more complicated legion, I think that Thousand Suns might be the way. In fact, it is 100% the way to go. Like, if you are somebody who really likes a challenge with their list building and also their gaming, but also likes the risk of maybe perilsing themselves, then this will be
you got to be a bit of a gambler, I reckon.
Yeah, this will be the list for you. But yeah, that was really, really awesome. The lists as well, all three of those lists were like really exciting as concepts and ideas, and I'm just sitting here just being like, oh man, like, how many of these lists can I actually make with the models that I've got kind of like behind me as well? So yeah, massive thank you. And also, it's not just the 2.5 hours that these guys give to the shows. It's also kind of like the list building they have to do, the liaising with Kerry in terms of timetabling, because I said to Kerry, we say to Kerry, just sort it out for us, because he's obviously the producer, and then he just emails us the time, and he's organized all of that. So thank you for the hours of work that you put in beforehand and the time now as well. So yeah, really, really appreciate it. And again, if you want to ask these guys any questions, you put them in the YouTube comments down below, or you've got their tags, and we'll put them in the comments down below, and you can kind of send them a message if you need a hand with list building. Let's just go over to our kind of final thoughts and final thank yous. Big thank you to our Heresy Hammer Praetor tiers, our top tier. We haven't kind of mentioned at all actually the fact that we do a Patreon, but if you have enjoyed the show and would like to support us, then please go check out the Patreon. But as I say, big hugs and kisses to all our Patreons, but also particularly our Heresy Hammer Praetors, our top tier as well. And then a few final reminders, particularly if you're new to the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. You can follow us on Instagram, which is where we tend to update social media most often. You can also listen to us on Spotify. And also another perk of Patreon is that you get this without all the ads, the 8-minute ads from YouTube as well. And then you can also join the Heresy Hammer WhatsApp group chat by visiting Linktree on Instagram, and you can join the chat from there. So without further ado, because I know it's very late, a big thank you for you guys for watching. A massive thank you to Andrea and Darren for their time. Like, really appreciate it. It was a really great discussion. Like, really, really thoroughly enjoyed it today. And we shall see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys. See you soon.